Good evening, folks. Welcome to Paranormal Roundtable. I'm your host, Josh Turner. Oh, man, I don't feel like I can never get my hair just right. It's always got to look weird. You see it? Look at it. I'm a weird-looking guy. Do you see it? People are like, not until you pointed it out. No, you know what it is, folks? I'm just self-conscious. You know how embarrassed I get over everything, you know? I worry about my image all the time. You know how it is.
Yeah, you're pretty easy to hurt.
Yeah, all the time.
As everyone knows, you have a reputation for being a big baby.
Yeah, that's the rumor.
Yeah.
A lot of rumors. Folks, thank you for tuning in. I had on yesterday's show, and I felt like it was imperative that I get on here and talk because yesterday we dropped the show. Somebody had posted on it? What did they say? The first comment that was made.
Oh, yeah, okay, so one of the first comments that was made before the show even dropped. It was on the premiere. They said, Josh Turner is a fraud. He told us that the conference would be live streamed, and it wasn't. So how can we ever trust him on his word? He's a big fraud.
So
yeah, there we go.
Truth is that you can't. You can't trust anyone. All you can do is go by their actions. And here's what I'm going to tell you. This hair is bothering me. Get my brush, brush it down, so I don't look like Bigfoot. The conical head. Well, it's on camera. It doesn't matter what you see. It matters what they see, and it matters how I feel. The hell, he just tries to bring me like a wire, like a hog hair.
There's a black one in there.
A boar head brush. What is that? Like, is that for the pig?
That's for my wild hair.
Yeah, exactly. I
gotta tame it. You got that nice, like, soft, straight hair.
Well, it curves if I leave it, let it be. There we go. Now it feels a little better. It feels like it's not flowing everywhere. So, folks, here's the thing. You know, I'm not a fraud. I kept my word. I did what I was supposed to do. I thought I tried to. You can't please everybody. You can't please everybody. I mean, it's just never going to happen. I think Christopher Clough said it best. He said, you could cure cancer, and they'd be like, oh, you let all these other people die before you finally got the cure.
Mm-hmm.
Why'd you do that? Now, it doesn't matter what and so and folks, before I get started on this, and I'm going to tell you a couple stories, and a couple that I got from the conference. Man, how many do you think we got from the conference between us three and Nelly? Just us four.
I mean, you 100? I remember you were up to like 5 o'clock getting
every
stories.
Morning.
It was crazy.
It was unreal.
Everybody came. It was so nice. Everybody was so approachable, and you know, it was really easy to have conversations with everybody too.
Felt like a big family reunion.
Yeah.
It might have been
really
better
awesome.
than last year.
Yeah, like, multiple people said that, and I felt the same way, that it felt like we were all, like, you could go up to someone and just start talking, and it felt like you had known each other for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
You could just keep talking and talking and talking. Which, and for me, like, that's not how I am at all, but that's how I felt. So it was something big for me too.
Seeing all the speakers there, I know them all personally. I've met them all before. I mean, it was just like seeing my cousins at a family reunion again. You know, just hanging out with them. You know, interacting with them. I didn't get to take one photo because I was busy. I was very busy. Joanne Hartnett, yeah, I feel that way. It doesn't matter what you do. But before we get started, I'm going to tell you some funny stuff, and I'm going to tell you some spooky stuff, and we're going to have a good show. But here we go. I'm going to tell you, and here you go. I'll get chastised for saying, they'll be like, don't let people bother you. Let it bother you. Folks, don't get it twisted. I love to troll the trolls. I live for it. But sometimes it gets so frustrating to have people watch every single move you make. They just wait to pounce. And the funny thing is, I had one show up who thought I didn't recognize him, and I was super cordial with him, super nice. I knew he lived in the area, and he showed up. You know who you are. Dude. I'll just call you Dude. You like to go by that. And my wife went up and gave you a big old hug because you know what? No hard feelings. I don't care. You are where you're at, and I'm where I'm at. I don't care. I don't hold grudges. I'm not a grudge holder. Folks, holding on to that stuff will make you sick. It'll make you sick, holding on to grudges. Forgive. Move on. There were several people there that were so... I see Letitia and Barton. Good to see you guys again. You know, they came in with the Kentucky, Tennessee boys and their little posse, and you had the North Texas posse and the Oklahoma boys there, and
San Antonio group.
the San Antonio boys were there, and it was just, you know, you had the little factions, but we all got together like one big family and said, hey, let's rock it. Let's do this. You had some of the people from Wisconsin. I mean, it was great. It was unbelievable. It was good. It was awesome. I went to the water park as promised for 4 hours the next day, and hung out with some of the listeners that were brave enough to stay there and go, you know. And I wake up to the what was it? Was it Monday? What were the groups? The group. What did they call me?
Oh,
Come on, I hope you don't. We just talked about this. We were laughing
you know,
about it.
Anthony?
What
Did they call me?
They called the head
What
of
was
the Cowboys.
the-
Who's the owner of the Cowboys?
Oh, okay, yeah, they called you Jerry Jones.
Jerry Jones is the owner of the Dallas Cowboys. So I wake up, and there's somebody on there in one of the groups. And first it was pictures they had posted, and I can't remember what it was that they had posted. They said, and it was in one of the Dogman groups. I know the guy; he's a friend of mine. I went up to him and said, "Come on, man. You know it gets old. You know, just come on, because people are going to believe some nonsense." And so they did what they do. They're so angry, so bitter, and why? What's wrong with you, man? Who hurt you? Who hurt you? Show us on the doll where your feelings were hurt. You know, you have, and the truth is, think about it like this. It reflects on you, man. It reflects on you because you have so much hate in your heart and so much anger towards me. I've never done anything to you. Never met you before in my life. But you act like you know me. But I'm like Eddie from, you know, what's it called? The werewolf movie, Howling. He's like, you know me, but I don't know you. Why is that? Yeah. You're over here talking like you know me, dude. You don't know me, dude. You know, and the thing is, you didn't do what I did. You didn't get to be a part of whatever it was, but you could have. You could have just put aside your petty grievances, differences, or whatever insane, whatever is going on in your mind, and just live your life. If you let go of all that anger and that hate, you would be so much happier.
Yeah, there were a couple of people there who did just that, and they were able to be a part of the conference, and I was really impressed, but both with them and with you, to be able to kind of put your differences aside, and just to bring people into the fold, you know, and to be real forgiving, you know. Like I
Yeah.
was glad they were there.
Yeah, and they were helpful. They
Yeah.
were a good energy and a good part of what making peace with people and going on and working on something together is what life is all about. My guys from back in the day, and I say my guys, and Christopher Garitano wants to make a video or something about my past and things like that. I don't know if I'm okay with that. I don't know how I feel. But I say my guy, Starscream was there. He's one of my guys. He lives up there, you know. And I do have a past, but, you know, the past is the past in your rearview mirror. And I thought, you know what? Why not beat them to the punch? They want to unleash all this stuff about my past. I don't give a crap. Go ahead. You know, it's not like, oh, this proves that he's a bad guy. No, you know what it does? It shows that I was a bad guy that found my way back to God. That's what it shows. Ask anybody who was there, any of the speakers who were there. Every one of them got paid. Everybody got paid. Nobody got shorted. I had everybody who was a part of it. Not one person can say that I did something untoward. If they do, they're lying. And there were a couple people that felt slighted because I didn't appreciate some of their overtness. How do you say? I don't know what you would say. I don't know. They were a little too much, and that's how they are, and that's fine. You do you. But I am married, and I have a wife, and I have, and I live my life strictly by that. Not going to be any scandals because I'm not that way. And people, one guy called me a wily person. What does that mean? What are you trying to say? I'm escaping from your snaps, your traps and snares. Why are you laying them out there for me? What is your beef? Let it go. Let me do me and let me do the show. And, and Anunnaki, bro, you're right. We're in serious talks now about starting Rumble. And we're going to call it that. We're going to call it, go ahead and call for whatever we got to do. Outlaw, Cryptid Outlaw, or what were we going to call it? Outlaw Paranormal.
Yeah.
And we're gonna start a channel, and we're gonna talk, but we're gonna talk about a lot of different stuff on that channel that we can't talk about here. And I talked about some controversial things on my time up there at the conference in DFW area. People who showed up there who aren't from Texas, let me explain something to you. I hate that ugly area where we were at. That is not indicative.
Oh, yeah.
The prairie up there, I don't like the prairie. I'm from the forest. We're wood people. We're woodsy people up here, down here.
Yeah, you got to see the hill country of Texas.
The hill country is beautiful. We're from the Central Texas area, the beautiful, area. Up there, it's just wide open plains. It looks gross. I like Fort Worth as a city. It's pretty cool. White settlement, not so much. It was kind of rough, Not a very nice area. We kind of had a guy that kept walking up to the hotel, doing karate with invisible, whatever. He may have been fighting spirits for all we know. We don't know.
He was protecting us all
He might
night.
have been protecting us from demons all night long. We don't even know. But he was kicking and throwing. It was crazy. We were watching him at one point. I was just like, this guy's got some moves.
Could have been an unsung hero.
Yeah. And then he vanishes into the ether. He's like, my job is done. Like
Yeah.
Raiden,
Yeah.
eternal life. I don't know. I don't know what he was doing. And none of us really do. And it's not our job to find out. But I felt bad for the guy. But that's not indicative of Texas. And also, here's what I'm going to tell you. You want to call me Jerry Jones, call me Jerry Jones. I don't care. Now, don't confuse it with Jim Jones. They call me that, too. The Kool-Aid guy that killed everybody in Ghana. That's not... They're calling me the Jerry Jones of the paranormal world. And this is what I woke up to. It was some posts, already... and I can't even remember what it was on Dogman discussions, whatever. Actually, message Chris Clough and ask him for the transcript, what they were saying on that group about the Dogman group. The admins were nice enough to be like, oh, whatever. And I said, come on, it's silly and it's funny to a degree because it gets so ridiculous and outlandish. But now I'm Jerry Jones. And they said that my conference, they said I made it Josh's world. What does that mean? Like, I made it Josh's world. I'm like, what are you talking about? I mean, it was my conference. Ken helped. That was his job. But it was my conference. So I felt like there were answers to questions.
I think people are confusing it because you were the host.
Mm-hmm.
And they're talking out their ass, to be honest, because they don't understand that you were up there doing your job, and people are confusing it or something. but that's exactly what you were supposed to be doing. You're up there in between speakers, giving a little insight, or also just entertaining for a little bit while people are getting in tune for the next speaker to get ready and stuff.
Yeah,
I mean, it was pretty simple.
Yeah, and they said, once again, Barton posted on there, once again, Josh Turner did something that no one else has done. He brought all these speakers together under one roof, which is the first time that was done. Last year was the first time that we had ever had that happen. This year was not the second time. This is the first time that we had even these guys all under one roof. And I was sitting there talking with Ron Murphy, and we were looking. I was like, is that correct? I talked to Chad Lewis, and he hadn't been at a conference with all those different people, and he wasn't there last year. And we had Adam Davies, and they were the newcomers, and then, of course, Ron Moorhead. And Ron is an amazing guy. They all do amazing work. I mean, and if you haven't checked them out, you need to check them out. Lance Hightower was there. He did an awesome job. Eddie Hill from San Antonio, he's a police officer. He was there. They gave presentations. Bettina gave her presentation. And people were talking, saying stuff online. They weren't even there. And they're talking. What are you talking about? Get out of here. I mean, you weren't even there. And if you at least if you were there, you could go walk away and go, I wanted my money back. This was terrible. But you had people talking trash who weren't even there. So now I'm Jerry Jones. Whatever.
That's not even to mention the food. All 3 days. The first day was good. Green beans were out of this world. Second day, you had an assortment of just really good beef or chicken. And then you had like nachos or a sausage wrap. And it continued the third day, but it was just a lot of really good food as well there too.
So I'm going to take a negative and turn it into a positive. And even on Barton's post, there were some people that were nitpicking at me, whatever. I'm just going to say this. So I guess I'm Jerry Jones. Fine.
Jerry Jones is very successful, so.
You know what Jerry Jones did? He made all those NFL owners a lot of money. They weren't making money before him. You think I'm joking? Go look it up. It was just a rich man's club, and they owned teams, and they just compete with each other and spend a bunch of money. Jerry Jones did something. He united them all. So inadvertently, they're just giving me a compliment. So what? You're just mad. You're just bitter. You're mad because you didn't do what I did or what we did. I don't say I say we, what we did. And I talked about it, and folks, there will be, it is recorded, right?
Yeah.
It is recorded. Christopher Jordan, me talked about it. It does come down to a money thing because I have to pay this guy to do this. And I don't hold Christopher Jordan. I thank you for the donations, folks. I didn't break even. We didn't break even. We were several thousand down. But you know what? None of us regret it. Do we regret it at all?
No, it was great.
Not at all. I mean, I felt like it was just what I needed at the right time, and I talked to 2 other people in particular, and that they had the same exact sentiment. They told me the same thing.
And I said that on my speech on there, if you want to call it a speech. And here's what happened, folks. I'll tell you. I go up to the podium. Ooh. See that?
Oh, you
That
almost
was so close. That was so close. Oh. Woo. That was like, thank you, God, for not allowing that to happen in the name of Jesus. I'll tell you this. Thank you for another day on this earth, God. In the name of Christ we pray. Things are offered as your will. Amen. By his grace we live. By his grace we die, right? Here's what I'm going to tell you. I get up there to the podium, and I have my notes, and I'm like this, no glasses, and I'm like, I can't read any of this. And I see a couple words as I strain, and then I'm like, because I'm farsighted. Thank you, Cutler, for that donation. Thank you, everybody who donated. Susie J. Susie, you're wonderful. I love you. You're a good person. I really enjoyed talking to you. We have to talk. Cutler, you too, all you, Jared, everybody that was there. Joe Breezy. Great people.
Oh, yeah.
Great people. Can't say enough about them, everybody that was there. Barton and everybody just, Daryl Denton, Martin Groves, and, just Ken always just supercharged, Lyle knocking it out of the park with that new habanero.
Oh,
it was
my
good.
God.
Oh, it's good. It's good. And so I wake up and I get about 50 messages. Hey, man, you did a great job. You knocked it out of the park. And I get 5. So I'd say, what's it, 10%? Giving me critiques. Of those 5, 2 were really nasty. And it's so funny because it's like, you're just mad. You're just mad. You're mad. I wouldn't have gone to your conference if you paid me. I was like, I'm not paying you. I'm not paying you. So what does it matter? What's the point? What are you talking to me for? What does it matter? The guys from Expanded Perspectives were there, and they were messaging
so
me today.
awesome to
Kyle
meet
Filson, and guys that were inspirations to us starting out. But I go up to the podium and I can't see it, so I just said to heck with it. I have a good memory, and I'm just gonna. And I talked, and I did what I had to do. I shot from the hip, and I told the stories of what I needed to say, and then I went back, and I did what I did. I got all of the information that needed to be given out. And that's what I did.
Well, at the same time, entertaining. I mean, you were telling jokes and kind of having fun with it as well. I mean, a lot. I remember seeing people. I remember Anthony saying that he stuck his head in and he looked around and everybody was just quiet, just like listening, just like intent on what you were saying. So like you had like their attention,
Yeah.
which speaks volumes.
I went out of my way a couple of times to like escape from the vendor from behind the vendor table and just kind of poke my head into the conference room when you were speaking in particular, because I felt the same thing last year, like when you're up there and there's this big crowd of people and you have their attention and that they're so happy just to give you their undivided attention, and you're reciprocating that appreciation by just delivering exactly what they need, exactly what they want. It made me feel really proud, and I did that multiple times. Like, I mean, like you probably saw me like just kind of poke my head in a few times.
Not really, but I mean, I was very busy.
Okay.
I didn't see you.
Yeah,
but
I mean, like I didn't want to be
I
distracting.
appreciate it.
I felt like it was kind of distracting, so I only did it a few times. But I had to see you talk to everybody.
And I want to give a shout out to the people that stayed behind and worked to help us be able to do it, like Zane and Dee and Scorp and everybody who sacrificed their fun, to do and stay and grind it out like they always do. They do what they got to do. It's loyalty. It's called loyalty. And Barton was here like 9-10 days, something like that, October. And he says, you have a lot of guys here. They're loyal, men and women that are loyal to you. I have people working for me that have been with me for 2 decades. Some of them 10, 12 years, 7, 8 years. Barton met a lot of them, so did Letitia. And you don't build that by being a swindler or, I'm not that kind of person. That's not who I am. And when me and Garitano and Josh Nanokia, we were all eating at the wonderful restaurant of Chili's, which is just, I can't say enough about how great it was.
Oh, yeah, I love
the waiter was great. Josh, the waiter.
Josh, the waiter, was great. Yeah. The appetizers were probably better than anything else they had there.
Oh, yeah, I love the gray meat on the ribs, the not fully.
I think I would have just rather starved.
They were just like steamed or something. Dude,
gross. It's just corporate food like Applebee's, Chili's. It's not good. I mean, there's good and not good, and it's not good. I don't like it. I mean, I could never accept like a sponsorship from. I'd be like, I'm lying. Go eat at Chili's because it's great. No, that's all we had over that little town. So we ate at 2 different Mexican restaurants that were pretty lit. They were pretty good. Shout out to El Cholito and what was it, Tequilas?
Yeah.
And we all went out to eat. Matt Imp, she showed up. He was there. And. It was a great time. We had fun, and I can't say enough about how much people are asking for pictures. I did post. So what it comes down to is having to pay. Let me let this guy know real quick. So what it comes down to is I have to split the money with Christopher Jordan, which is nothing. It's not too much to ask. And he didn't want to make it where people who paid to go there felt slighted. And so there's a balancing act there. And I had said $8. I didn't realize how many hours of whatever it was going to cost. I thought it was going to be like, condensed. No, it's like hours and hours of stuff. So we're going to he put it behind a paywall. On his, it's called Vimeo. Is it Vimeo?
Yeah, I think it's called Vimeo.
Vimeo, and it's going to be, I think, $25 or something like that. So that's what it's going to cost. But it's hours and hours of entertainment. Now, I said $25, but I am not. Don't quote me on that, folks, because I had originally just said we were going to stream it, and it was going to cost like $6-7.
Yeah.
But they said that wasn't feasible. And this isn't me talking or winning money. This is what these guys are telling me, the AV guys. I don't know what the heck it is. I thought that would be an appropriate amount, but then after talking to them, and I have to pay them to do this or whatever, to break even at all, it would have to be about $25-30. Now, the AV guys said it should be 30 because we got to split it. So, I'm still about $6-7 down. But let me know in the chat if you would actually be willing to do it, because if nobody's willing to pay that, then I'm not going to release it. And I'm not going to hold it hostage. I just can't afford it because I don't have the platform to do it. and he does. And if I don't agree to that, then we can't release it. And then I'm gonna have to let him. Okay, fine, just forget it. I'm already down $1,000 just for what I owe him. So it's a money thing, and it's nothing I can do about it, folks. It is not my deal. I'm not gonna make money off of it. Probably just maybe I can break even. I doubt it, but I'm not doing it for the money. I'm not trying to break even. I'm just trying to get the information out there if you want to watch it. But I can't put it on my channel for 2 reasons. One, it won't work. And then the second, I can't because I said some very controversial things. I did. I said some things that probably would get me kicked straight the heck off of YouTube. So there. And then we're going to move some stuff over to Rumble so that we can talk about some real stuff. Not that we're not talking about real stuff here, but let's be honest. Real stuff, If you got hidden by I'm sorry about that. Apparently Scorpion hit some people on accident. So I'm sorry if you got hidden. It was an accident. I don't know why he does that. Well, I know he does it because he's at work. He's probably trying to do 2 things at once. Scorpion, if you can't do it, don't do it. Get D in the chat so he can help moderate. So here's the thing. Yeah, and Moonshine says video and editing is hard work. It is, and I don't do that. So that is why it costs a certain amount of money. But if you're willing to pay that, then we can probably start. We could put it on there by tomorrow probably and get it going. But it's up to you. So I was going to leave tomorrow open for that. So if anybody wants that, that's where what we're gonna have to do. We can also work on maybe some DVDs or something like that if somebody wants to do that. But okay, what's going on here? Yeah. Okay. So, anyways, that being said, I want to tell you a story real quick because it's already 30 minutes in, and I don't want to get blasted for not telling stories, even though that's not really what the live stream originally was for. We're doing it. That's what we do. I want to thank everybody who showed up. Continued prayers for Sibylla Irwin. She couldn't make it because of her mother. And I want to thank Ron Moorhead, Chad Lewis, Barton Nunley, David Weatherly, Ken Gerhard, Lyle Blackburn, Nick Redfern, Christopher Garetano, Ann Celine, Ron Murphy, Bettina Moss, D.A. Roberts. Oh, I'm sorry, D.A. Roberts didn't make it. So Adam Davies, the guys from Expanded Perspectives, Josh Finocchio, Lance Hightower. Did I miss anybody? Who did I miss? But I got everybody. The speakers, everybody that was there that was speaking. It was a great time.
Jesus?
Jesus Payan, that's another one. I need to thank him. Yeah. If you can think of anybody else that I missed. So I want to thank everybody who was there. I had a great time, and they had a great time, and everybody had fun. Everybody sold out. And Daniel Jones, thanks to Daniel Jones and Ryan Edwards. Forgot about them. Daniel Jones, Ryan Edwards. Who else was there? Christopher Jordan. But we didn't. The only one that didn't sell was David Weatherly because he brings a lot. And then I think the other one was Chad Lewis, and I think he sold most of what he had. And he sold a lot of stuff. I mean, the merchandise flew off the shelves. And I think that everybody did really well. I was given a Bowie knife, which I thought I had in the truck with me, which I don't, but it was given to me by Daryl Denton and Martin Groves. And it was presented to me at the end of the night. I did give away door prizes. We gave away like a $400 watch. We gave away a bunch of silver coins with what? Dogman, Bigfoot, Mothman. What else did we give away? We gave away 2 katanas and a battle axe.
Yeah. Those prizes were really cool.
Really sweet prizes, man. Thanks to True Katana for the discount. And, we did. Yeah, it was cool. We do have a friend that actually makes swords, so if you want to buy a sword from him, I told everybody his name, and it'll take you 6 years. Am I joking? I'm not joking. Mm-hmm. It takes 6 years to make that. So if you want to do that, yeah, you can go and have a sword made or whatever. Everybody, thank you for showing up, and thank you for the donations, and thank you for the help. I'm sorry that it's Jerry's world up there for me. I guess I was just, whatever. I don't know what to say, man. I could pass out in bags of money and they'd be like, this is all the money, And there'd be somebody who would be upset with that. And I don't understand how, on God's beautiful green earth, how these people can do that when they weren't even at the conference. They said it was a ripoff. They didn't even go. You didn't even go. How did you get? Who hurt you, dude? Who hurt you? Show us on the doll where your feelings were hurt, because I'm confused. And then we had a woman get on there on Barton's deal and say something, and it's like, this is the kind of stuff that goes on, folks. Now, I want you to know this, and I'm telling you this, not to focus on the negative. I gave you all the positive. But please, these people, they're not being honest. They're just being bitter and angry, and it really has nothing to do with the truth. So I'm going to start with this. I got a story from a guy who came up there, and I was going to wait on this one. And he didn't get to stay long. He came in and he was gone, and it was the night of the what was the VIP. And he came in, right at the tail end of it, and he says, I'm not going to be able to be here tomorrow or the next day. And there was some VIP that showed up. It was weird. They just showed up for the VIP, and they didn't come back the next day. Mm-hmm. And there were people that showed up Saturday, and they didn't go Friday, even though they had VIP tickets. And then they didn't show up Sunday. And then we had people just show up Sunday. They weren't there the 2 days before. So it was just weird. I would estimate we had a few hundred people at least come and go. What would you say? A conservative estimate, 400 maybe?
Yeah.
On the liberal side, maybe 500. I mean, it was easily, because at the last day, we just let people in toward the last couple of hours. Just come on in. I don't care, whatever. And I do too, Barton. Barton says, I feel sorry for everyone who missed the conference, truly. And I think some people were pulling my leg about how their reasons and excuses, and that's fine. I don't, if you didn't go, you didn't go, because it doesn't hurt me, it hurts you. Because ultimately, you missed out on a wonderful thing. It was a beautiful thing, everything that happened. So what I'm going to tell you right now is a story, and one I got, and this guy, he came and he said, I'm going to tell you a story. And I didn't have a lot of time, so I said, can you do me the favor? And I told a lot of you this, okay? A lot of you that are in the chat, I told you this. I don't have a lot of time because I'm emceeing, and I have to, do what I got to do and be involved in all the panels. And some of the speakers, like Bettina, wanted me up there while she was talking. A couple of those speakers asked me to be there. So I did what I was asked. Let me have the towel there. Some people think that I was over there trying to bogart their whatever. No, I wasn't. I was asked by these people to be up there to help them feel more comfortable. Because I don't get embarrassed. I don't care. You ever seen that skit with Chris Farley where he's dancing around with Chippendales with Patrick Swayze? That's me. Mm-hmm. I don't care. You're not going to embarrass me, dude. I don't give a crap. Talking in front of 1,000 people, I can talk in front of 5 people. I don't give a crap. Okay? You're not gonna make me feel weird. I don't give a crap. It is what it is. You'll be like, oh, you're fat. Well, I can lose weight. You're ugly, and you'll stay that way. This is not working. Somebody get that. These other glasses, the bifocals, just not happening for me. My wife told me, and I was like, well, I'm going to do it anyway because I know more. And then she's like, you don't like them, do you? I'm like, nope. I told you. See what happens? No, but here's the thing. The guy, he tells me, he says, I got a story. So he messaged me, and I have it on my deal here. So I kind of got this one down, but I want to make sure that I get the names right, or the location. Okay, so this happened up in Wyoming. He no longer lives there. And it's not that far from the Wind River Reservation, and it happened when he was young. And there's a creek that runs through there, and he said it was wintertime, and it was really weird. And it really struck a chord with me when Chad Lewis he did his presentation on the Wendigo. And I wish you guys could have, heard the presentations. Y'all had to work at the booth. Yeah. And, we had a couple of the people, but we just didn't trust them because they're, whatever. I'm just kidding. But it was your brothers.
Yeah.
And so he tells me this story. And so I was able to talk to him a little bit yesterday. I made several phone calls, and then I woke up today at 1 o'clock. And he's oh wow, you slept in. No, I went to bed at 8. So I woke up at 1, which I always do, just about. Usually by noon or 1, and I go to bed I go to bed after you guys do, and I get up way before you guys do. I do it. It's ritual, And I gotta talk to this guy. I'll call him Neil because I actually didn't ask if I had permission to say his name, and it's not a big deal. And he said, I saw one of these creatures come out of the ice of a frozen creek. You ever heard of anything like that? And I said, yeah, I have actually. And if you heard the stories that were being told at the conference, now this is why you have to go to the conference, because after the conference, during the conference, before the conference, everything, you're getting story after story after story. You're bombarded with it. And these people, the girl from the water park, she's like, I was shuttling people back and forth, and they were telling me crazy stories, wild stories. There's what she told me and Christopher Clough and you guys. Right? And I was like listening. What is the conference? It was a rave. So what happens with I'm joking, Fry. It's what just happened this past weekend. So what happened was these people, they give you a bunch of stories. They're there to tell their story. They're there to hear their other people's stories, and so it's just a smorgasbord of stories. It's a good place to get stories. Not that we don't have a lot already. But Neil tells me this story, and what he told me was incredible. He said that this thing came up out of the ice. And it was him and his two brothers. And when it broke through the ice, he said the first thing we see is it was white. Like there was a grayish white hand that came up out, and then another hand, and it pulled itself up and just kind of bobbed its head and looked around. And he said it looked just like a white werewolf. Now, if you watch the show where Eddie Hill talks about the white wolf, he goes into detail about it on the conference. He talks about the white wolf. And when he was talking about it, it reminded me when he was speaking about this after the fact, because this guy told me after. And I was like thinking back, I was like, dude, and Neil wasn't there for their presentation. So it's not like he put it together in his mind.
Mm-hmm.
And he's an older guy, he's like 65 or something like that. It looks good for his age. I mean, he looks like he's, he takes care of himself. And he works out, which is important, And he flies, flies plane. And he said, dude, I wanted to make your conference, but I have to fly back out, whatever. And he said, this thing comes up out of the ice. And when I was listening to Chad Lewis and Eddie Hill, then when I went back and I heard this guy tell me the story, I started thinking back on their their speeches. Kind of reminded me. It comes up out of there and it pulls itself up, breaks through. Here's the weird thing. Now, here is the thing that really got me. He said that creek couldn't have been but maybe 2 feet, like deep. When it pops up out of the ice, this thing's like 7 foot tall. And I was like, wait, whoa. I was like, Neil, wait a minute. Back up. I'm confused.
At the very least, it came out of like a hole or
A
something.
hole, right? Yeah. And he's like, so later on, and I'll just jump ahead real quick and then go back. What happened was when the water receded in the summertime, it kind of dried up a little bit. They go and they look. There is a hole there, and it kind of goes down at an angle. But this thing, what does it breathe underwater? What is that? Like what can do that? That's my question. And I was like, this is an incredible story he's telling me. He said I was like 12 years old. His brother was 13, the other one was 15. He was the youngest. And his brother, they had heard stories, of these medicine men that could shapeshift and all that. We had Trey, my cousin, on the show, and he talks about all that because he lived up there for a few years. When this thing comes up out of the ice, now get this, it had blue eyes, striking blue eyes. He said we looked right at it, and he said my oldest brother just instinctively he grabbed us all and we jumped straight down onto the snow. And he said that this thing came out and it began to walk around and it sniffed the air. And he thought it was a bizarre, just to say the least, it was bizarre. He said to really go into detail, it was a nightmare. He said, I'm 65. He said, I still have nightmares about this thing. I don't know what this thing is. It's wild. I said, did it do anything? He said, no, it didn't. He said it walked in a circle and then just kind of like put its arms at its side and jumped back into the water and was gone. Incredible. And he's like, and I said, did you ever witness it again? Did you ever see it again? And he says, yeah, I did. It came in, it killed me. I'm actually dead. I'm a ghost. I'm here. I'm haunting this place. I'm kidding. That's not what happened. No, he said, I never saw it again. And he had some other stories too. You know, and he's not, and by his own admission, he's not a real good speaker. But that's okay, you know. But he said he was going to get back with me about some other stuff because his sister saw something similar to that, but it actually did something. You know, it's wild with some of the stories that we got. And then somebody in the chat in the audience asked the difference between the blue eyes, the red eyes, the green eyes, and the yellow eyes. And all I can tell you is that we don't know. We did get into the whole these things getting shot, where they're kind of in between. And me and Ron Moorhead had a long conversation yesterday. And we were on the phone talking. And Ron has given me very high compliments. I can't say that. I mean, that's the highest honor you can get is from an OG like him. He says, you're on the right track. And, you know, Ron, he talks like this, you know, and he says, I think you're on the right track, Josh. You're doing, you know, but you're doing good work, you know. And I have shared a lot of encounters with my brothers, you know, that were at that conference. A lot of them, we've shared information back and forth, me and Bettina. I've opened up files for her and showed her, look at this. I plan to do the same with Lance. I want to work with Lance and Eddie. Me and Eddie have gone back and forth. Pretty much everybody there that I could trust, you know, those are my people, my friends. These aren't just speakers that I reached out to and said, hey, come to my conference and I'll pay you. No, these are friends. I consider these people my friends. And then we, as fate would have it, we found a box of Linda Godfrey books. And remember I was tearing up but I was in the wrong room.
Yeah.
I tore up the wrong room. And then Anthony says, well, what if they're in, or maybe it was you, Tony. One of y'all said, maybe they're in the other room. And I'm like, nah, they're not over there. Sure enough, we go over there to look. See, I'm wrong sometimes. And I admit I was wrong. That's where they were. But they were underneath a bunch of Barton and Lyle's books. And then we found a box of Linda Godfrey books. And I don't know when or how long ago they were there when they were signed, but they were signed. So I brought 2 of them. And I gave them away at the conference. Let it not be said that I don't take care of my people. And so, you know, these are my friends, and I've discussed many cases with these people. I can't tell you how many times I've sat up at night talking to Nick Valenti or Ken or Lyle or Barton and David Weatherly, going over stories, talking to these guys like, what do you think of this? You know, take a look at this email. What is this? What is this? It's weird, you know, weird stuff. And me and Bettina have gone back and forth for hours. Me and her can talk. Me, her, and Nellie start talking. We're talking. And it's just these cases, you know, and then you talk to the witnesses, you know, and you get this information and you can, I mean, I can tell when somebody's lying, like you can tell. And sometimes they're not that they're lying, but they forget or they you know, cause they can't remember everything. And I always tell people, I'd rather you just forget than try to piece it together in your mind, because I want the purest of whatever you got. And so people are seeing something. There's something going on out there. Thank you. Well, it's not Harrington. What's her name? That's her husband's.
Patricia.
Patricia, thank you for that donation. Donations are not expected. I even got chastised for saying this. Donations are not expected with you. I appreciate it. Okay. And if you want to send a story, JoshTurnerPRTpodcast.com. Patreon, y'all know the drill with the Patreon. Join the Patreon. I got chastised by some new listener about that because it sounds like I'm trying to sell you stuff from a store or whatever. Dude, whatever. Sorry. Okay. So, you know, I'm sitting here and I'm trying to please as many people as I can, but, you know, at the end, there's going to be some hurt feelings. Because you can't please everybody. You can't sit there and please everybody. It's impossible. And what I'm trying to do and trying to accomplish, people are trying to throw a wrench into it because they don't want the truth out there. That's the only thing I can think of is that they don't want that. Hey, Tyler. Tyler, he had some amazing stories. I got your stories, Tyler. We got to get Tyler has to come on the show, talk about what he saw. And he showed me an epic picture. Tyler, don't think for a minute that you're crazy. Okay, just because I think you are. I don't mean I'm joking, Tyler. I love you guys. You and Sam are great.
You know, that mustache you rock is pretty crazy, Tyler.
Yeah.
I'm envious of that thing.
So Tyler had some crazy stories, and then and they were. I mean, I don't mean crazy like ridiculous, but good. I mean, they were not good, but I mean, you know, it was. And so some of these people, they have this vested interest, and they want their little fiefdom to be their little, it's my little kingdom, you know. And they want to be able to BS and whatever the hell they want to do. And then one guy, he made a comment on the last on the when we dropped yesterday, the podcast episode. This guy's lying. I was waiting for him to be like on Fear and Loathing. I could see it in his eyes, man.
Yeah. I know what you're up to.
You know what you're up to, man. He says, especially when he clears his throat. Now, Tony, tell him what you said. Why I was clearing my throat.
You're clearing your throat because we just did the live right there. Because obviously, you know, we were going to come back on Tuesday, so we were going to be able to record or upload a show. So right after the live, you said, well, we should still record one, and Anthony should get it ready to just have it out on Tuesday. So obviously our voices were a little rough because we were
all,
up for like 3 hours.
Not drinking, but drinking, trying to drink drinks or whatever. What's it called? And we had to take those
Like
little
water.
those things for your throat. What is it called? Those little
The
Lozenges.
lozenges.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I'm clearing my throat, and now I'm a liar. I'm like, dude, get what is wrong with these people? You're a liar, dude. You don't exist. Whatever. Go away.
I think people underestimate how much it takes to just talk for 3 hours.
They have no clue. Holly M says, congratulations on another wonderful conference. I would be more than willing to pay the $25, $30 to watch it. The speakers who presented at the conference are top shelf and completely worth that amount and so much more. Thanks so much, PRT. Yeah, I wanted to do it for cheaper, but the AV guys were like, no. and I get it. I mean, I think it was something like, you know, they had to go through 12 hours of each day. It was like, it was a lot to cut it down. It was a lot, and it took a lot. So I get it. I understand their point. So they need to get paid. I get it. And so there was a lot of backbiting too, you know, that was going on. Not at the conference, but just, you know, after I came back, people were going and saying all kinds of crazy stuff. Not the people at the conference because they saw it with their own eyes, but people who weren't there talking crap. Now I'm Jerry Jones. You know, it's Josh's world or whatever. You know, not going to hurt my feelings. I'm a Cowboys fan. I don't really care. Say what you want. Go ahead, hate me.
It's such a weird insult.
Yeah. Well, the whole little piece was kind of like a hit. You know, they were just trying to put a hit on me on that, you know, and there were some people all like, right. And like, you know, people I've never even heard of. Like, I don't know you, dude. You know, like, it was ridiculous. What did Clough say that dude Adam M said? See if he remembers.
He's actually driving right now.
Oh, dang.
Yeah, I wish because he could tell you, you know. But it was fun. Some of it's funny. You know, it was so funny. Some of the ridiculous grasping at straws, dude. They were just grasping for anything. They're just like they're on a muddy slope and they're just they're slipping down into the water where the Crocs are waiting for them. And in their last gasp, they're trying to slip and they're trying to grab anything they can. Because I'm doing something, or we're doing something. All of us together we're doing something that's not been done before. And that's to unite.
We did it twice.
We did it twice. And it's like we won the Super Bowl once, and we're back to back. And we're not going to do it again this coming. We're not. I don't have the money for it, and I don't have the time. So, you know, but it's unfortunate. People do that. But there's people like Michelle Milner. I see her in there. I see Jared. I see Anunnaki. Samuel Lemon, you know, all these people that were there. You saw it with your own eyes. You think all these people that were there just got together and had a big conspiracy and said we're all just going to make up a lie that says that Josh Turner's conference was good? That PRT's conference was good? Or that me and Anthony and Nelly and Tony and Scorpion D and Zane and everybody who's involved in my team, we just decided to agree on lies? We're just going to agree that it's, and that's, how do you keep that under wraps? Because not one person can just do that by themselves. So think about it real hard. Nandor. It was a good conference. I didn't bite anybody. I was tempted, but I, out of respect, I brought my own. He has a bag of blood. He did. He looked like Nandor.
On the internet.
I'm doing my dark biddings on the internet.
It's like bidding on eBay.
He looked like he could be a rough guy, though, if he had to. I didn't want to make him too mad, I was like, he's a really friendly guy, though. But it was just, dude, I mean, people were just acting, grateful and thankful, and we had a good time. I got a lot of stories. Here's another one I got. There was somebody said my aunt had a really creepy ghost story. And I'll tell this one. This one's pretty good. And I read it last night. I just read it, It's not real long, but she bought a vehicle at auction. Now, when you buy a vehicle at auction, you don't really know exactly what you're going to get. I mean, you could get a lemon. They don't let you mess with them either. I've been to the auction, and you just get to turn it on, and they're like, see, it runs. Okay, it runs. I'm like, well, does it run? It runs. Yeah, it runs, but does it run? It runs. And then you start arguing with them, and it's like, it runs. Okay, all right, I get it.
You cook.
You cook it. That's it. And it was some people, some Jawas I was dealing with. So this woman bought a vehicle at auction. And I said, I've bought one, but I know how it goes, And exactly, Anunnaki bro, read his comment right there. There you go. So what ends up happening is she buys this vehicle. She doesn't know the history of this vehicle. She doesn't know anything about it. It's a Cadillac. Well, that's really a vehicle I probably wouldn't buy at auction, just because the kind of people that would have that would have it, that would be selling it there, they probably were involved in something that you don't really want to be involved in, okay? And not only that, but what if you're driving around that vehicle and somebody recognizes it and says, hey, that's that person right there, and let's go and do this and do that, And so what ended up happening, she looks in the rearview mirror and she sees a guy in the back seat with like this sort of fedora-looking hat. And she's like, whoa. And then she almost runs off the road. Like I said, this was a person's grandmother. So she tells her grandson, and her granddaughter, well, I guess it would be his wife. She's like, I can't. Something's wrong with his vehicle. And they kind of laugh it off, and they're like, whatever, And she's like, look, I'm so serious, I don't want the thing. Pay $3,000 for it, you can have it. And she's like, just take me to go get another vehicle, and they did, and then Grandma gives it to him. This is up in Illinois. I think it was like right outside of Chicago, but she said, Grandma's like, I don't want this. So one day, when he's going to the vehicle, he sees somebody duck down, and then pop back up real quick, like they were in the vehicle looking for something, and he's like, whoa, why is there somebody in my car? So he goes back inside, and he grabs something to defend himself. Comes back out, and there's nobody there. The doors are locked. What's going on? A couple weird things happened. Like one time he was messing with the radio, and the radio started going, doing its own thing, And he's like, what is going on? Well, this is like 15 years ago, But anyway, and the car was about 10 years old already. And it was in great shape. Nice car, nice rims, everything. And when he was messing with the radio and get it to, it was like trying to get it to stop, it just was doing it on its own. Then, and if you're familiar with hauntings, the whole spirit box, it was doing the but what I'm talking about, and it was speaking.
Yeah.
Using the radio?
And it was using the radio, and it told him get out. And it said get out my car. Like a couple times. He calls his girlfriend, or his wife at the time. They were about to be married fiance, I guess. And he says, dude, there's something up with this car. She says, yeah, I didn't want to say anything. I drove to the store to get groceries the other day, and I thought the car talked to me. He's like, what do you mean? He goes, well, I said I didn't want to say anything because your mom was there, and I didn't want to scare her and then scare your grandma again, you know. And his mother's very religious. Nothing wrong with that. She's just, you know, she's looking out for her son. But the car said something to her, called her the B word. And she's like, what? And he's like, are you kidding me? No, not a joke. The story was very compelling. And it kind of brought some things to me that made me think, you know, it's very possible that when you're, you know, when something happens, somebody gets whacked, killed, whatever you want to call it, probably not a good idea to be driving around in their vehicle. So they find on the floorboard, when they get it cleaned, whatever, a huge stain. It was brown, and when they lifted it up, the guy that was doing the what do you call it, the detail?
Yeah.
He says, look, man, that's blood. He's like, also, it was like when we were doing the reupholstering, we noticed that there was a hole that went through the back. If somebody was shot in that car, it had to be.
It's time to scrap that thing.
And he goes, I'm not trying to scare you or anything, but he goes, but the trunk popped and closed by itself. And the dude was like, whoa. And so him and his friend, you know, they were like, we stopped working on it. It also came on by itself without a key and then turned back off. And I thought this, and oddly enough, this isn't the first time we've heard of haunted cars, is it? This isn't our first
I
rodeo.
was just gonna say, it reminds me when we used to the other story about, I forget, was it a lady who kept seeing like a kid in her car or
Yeah.
whatever? Yeah.
Yeah, there's some weird stuff. Or the kids that were going to go and they saw that little gremlin jumping around the car.
Mhm.
And they were scared all summer. They were, what do you say? Like they stayed there for 2 months or something, and that thing they didn't want to go in the car. They cried every time the grandparents tried to take
What do
them.
we call that episode? Haunted
I
Passengers?
don't remember what it was called. Yeah, something like that. You know,
Yeah, I think so.
unwanted,
Unwelcome passengers.
unwelcome
Yeah,
passengers,
yeah.
something like that. You know, folks. I'm sorry, we're just talking, but so and then there's a couple that we haven't even talked about yet that we've gotten, and so this one though was really compelling, and what ended up happening, he says, dude, this guy says if I had to put money on it, somebody was shot, you know, and that's not exactly how he worded it, that's my words, but that's what he was saying. And so he said, okay, you know, and there's no way, they can't really go back and go, hey, you know, I need to know the history of this car or whatever. They're just like, you buy, you know, whatever. And they get like I think it's called a salvage title or something like that. Like there was a salvage title. And so then they found in a couple spots where it had been repaired and there was more than one bullet hole. And there were some weird things that happened. At one point he was driving the car, the guy whose grandmother had gotten his, telling me the story, you know, whatever. The grandmother had just given me the rundown, and then he filled in the blanks. But they were driving the car, and they were going to eat, hopefully not at Chili's. Maybe that's why the car revolted. It was like, no.
I mean, that's the real horror story.
That's the real.
Having to
That's,
eat Chili's
that's the
is just
scary part of the
the
story
only
right
thing
there,
around.
folks.
You think we're being over exaggerating, but it was honestly horrendous.
It's always bad. It's all corporate food is always bad. There's nothing good about it. So, but anyway, they're driving the car and it goes off, like it runs through a red light and then goes off on a curb and hits a curb. And at that point, he's like, I'm done. I'm not driving this. I can't do this. So he put it up for sale, but he has a conscience. He's a nice guy. And he's like, dude, I don't think I should sell this car in good conscience. So he decided that the best course of action was to sell it, but let the new owner know that there was some issues. The people that bought the car were like, for $2,000, we don't care. Okay, we'll deal with ghosts. They're not worried about it. And so what ends up happening? Couple months go by. I think he said it was just a couple weeks. Couple weeks go by. They get contacted by the guy that bought it because it was his friend's cousin that bought it. And he said, dude, what is going on with this car? There's something really wrong with this car. He's like, I was trying to go forward, and I was in line at the bank. You know, you go to the little, yeah, and it backed up and hit somebody. And he said, he's like, I knew this was going to happen. He goes, I told you something's wrong with this car. So then that guy proceeded to sell it for like $1,500. You know, I don't know how far down it went after that. And so that was it. They got rid of it. So then we talked about it, and he says, what is the likelihood that it was haunted? I said 100% likelihood. He said, okay, that's obvious. If you know, he goes, but what do you think it was? And here's what I told him. I said, let me tell you this. I said, blood and emotions saturate the environment. When somebody dies, sometimes things, especially when they die in an accident or they get shot or something happens to them, however they're unalived, you know, it does create something. Now, whether or not it's something that is feeding on the energy or it's the negative aspect of that person, I don't know. But it does create something. And I think that's what he was dealing with. Now, here's the I guess if there's a good side to it, after he got rid of the car, no problems. They didn't have hauntings. He had a couple weird things happen when he was a kid, but it was nothing major. They didn't have any thing spooking around the house. Whatever it was definitely there. Oh, and there was another thing that his friend came to see him one day, and he saw a weird guy standing by the car, and then he walks toward the back of the property, and he looks, and he's gone. He's like, told his friend, hey, man, he called his friend, hey, dude, somebody's out here, you know. They go back there, and they look. They don't see anybody, you know.
I just can't believe 3, possibly maybe 4 people paid money to get haunted by this car.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know, in Garetano, we were talking, you know, with Ninocchio. We were all sitting there. If you don't know who Ninocchio and Garetano are, Garetano, Strange World, Dark Files, Montauk Chronicles, and now he's got the Off to the Witch podcast, and then he's also got the Haunting We Will Go. It's coming out. He's written the screenplays. He's directed a couple movies. He's also got the South Texas Blues, the Chainsaw Massacre thing coming out, whatever. And then Ninocchio has 675,000 people to subscribe to his channel. He's humongous, you know. But we're all talking, and it was just, you know, and I think we had brought it up or something about Little Bastard, which is James Dean's car.
Mm-hmm.
And it was, you know, it's just, can a car be haunted? Yeah, it can.
Of course.
It's just a weird thing. And when you read some of these accounts like I do, or you talk to these people, you come to the conclusion that they're not tripping, man. I mean, this is real. This is real business, man. Now, what happened? What caused that car? They didn't know. Didn't find out. You know,
I mean,
and I don't think they really wanted to know either. To tell you the truth, I think it was just kind of like, you know,
also kind of self-explanatory. It seems like just someone got shot and died in there, right? I wouldn't want to know much any more than that.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of like when I was living where I was living, I was good, you know, until I left, and then I still to this day have not confirmed it, and I think it's just something I don't want to know.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's just like I really don't. I mean, it's just, you know, it's different when it happens to you. It's a whole different ballgame. It's like, yeah, somebody happened to somebody else. It could be, you always got that possibility that's not, you know, but then when it happens to you, it is. And so I don't know, that situation there was just it was creepy. And so that was one story that I got out of there, and there were so many others. I can't even tell you how many people that I need to record with, probably about 30 or 40. And it just went on and on. There were just so many people. Hey Charles, how you doing? There's one right there I need to record with, right there, Tracker C. You know, and somebody had mentioned, you know, about War Criminal on there at the end there with Martin Groves. A lot of great information he has. Don't want a haunted car. Yeah, you lived in a haunted house. Yeah, and it's not fun. It's not all, you know, like fun, spooky stuff. It's not like every day's Halloween. Ha ha ha. No, it's terrifying. You know. But we should have got Lyle to talk about it at the conference. I forgot all about it. We should have asked him to talk about it. But yeah, and there's just so many different aspects of these things. And I got a Bigfoot story too, a really good one. But before we go any further, I could talk about the crawler, I could talk about Bigfoot, I could talk about Dogman. I don't know. What do you guys want to hear? Let's take a vote here. Uh, Crawler, Bigfoot. One person says vampires. Crawler, Bigfoot, crawler, Bigfoot. Only one person? Two people? One Dogman? What? Scariest story you ever heard? Oh man, that's a hard one. Well, you know what? Let's flip the script here. What's the scariest one of you guys have heard? Y'all have heard them all. I mean,
I think Anthony's was a mirror.
Uh-huh.
I think that one just happened and it happens daily, right? It's just a recurring nightmare.
At least I can see myself in the mirror. That if you turn to the side and you just disappear.
Come on, guys.
Okay, no. So me personally, probably, and this is like an older episode, but I think I titled it "Malicious Little Leprechaun in My Daughter's Closet."
Oh yeah.
Where this little girl, she had a closet, and within that closet was like a tiny little door, and this little like gremlin, ugly little creature would come out of it, and he had like this staff, like this cane, and on top of this cane was like like one of those. It looked like one of those old school crystal doorknobs.
The doorknob, yeah. That was so weird. It happened to me and Diablo's friend.
Yeah.
Yeah, Summer.
Yeah, I think.
Oh shit! I just said her name. I don't know if I said it on the show.
I don't know if you did.
Yeah, kind of don't like to do that, but go ahead.
Just for me, there's something about these tiny little gremlin goblin creatures.
Okay, you know what? Then I'll tell you one similar to that we got a couple months ago, and I might have thrown it by you, Tony, because and no offense to you, Anthony, because you have to hear them so much after you do the editing and all that. So Tony, I'd probably talk more with you about the stories, and we go over them a little more, and then I Nelly too, and then Anthony, I'll tell you sometimes, but then you have to hear them, Anthony has to sit alone in the room and do the editing. And
Yeah, you have to listen to all of this afterwards, like two
does
or
it
three
ever
times.
creep you out to do that? I've never asked you that.
Sometimes, I mean, like if it's a show that's really easy to edit, then I can more listen to the show as opposed to listening at it. Because when I'm editing, it's not the same as like listening to the show for the stories. I have to listen for like, okay, I have to cut this out and have to make this part flow with this part, blah blah blah. But if it's like a easy show to edit, then and I'm listening to it, then sometimes it does get a bit much. Like I leave my bedroom door open when I'm editing.
Yeah.
And I'll let the cats and animals in there with me just to hang out. But yeah, it does get kind of creepy sometimes.
Yeah, and I've been on other shows where they've had to edit, and they've told me that they've heard weird things. I can't remember off the top of my head. There was a couple. I think Tony Merkel's was one where he said he heard some weird stuff or something, and I don't remember who all else has told me, but it's happened on more than one occasion. Along the lines of what he was saying. Now, here's what's weird. If you watch the video that's going to be released, if you choose to buy the conference to see it, there's one point where I have to get up because somebody is messing with the door. And so I was getting tired of it, and I got up and I walked over to the door. And I'm a pretty strong guy, and I go to push the door, and it doesn't want to open. And I struggled with it, and I had several of the conference goers say that they noticed that. And somebody was talking, so I was trying to do it as quietly as possible, but I couldn't. Because you know why? Something pushed back on that door. And I'm not joking. I don't know what that was or what happened. Well, the city council people from White Settlement came down. Was it Friday night or Saturday night? I think it was Friday night.
That was Saturday, I believe.
They came in Saturday, and was it the mayor too or something?
It was a guy who was on the city council. He was a
council.
city councilman.
So the city council came and Chamber of Commerce or something. I think there was different people. I don't know, but they came and then the conference center director, and they gave us free passes to go to the water park. And they talked to you guys predominantly.
Yeah.
But one of the things they did tell Ken was that it was haunted, and Ken was like, "It's cool. It's right there by Lake Worth, where the Lake Worth monster was seen, the Goatman, Bigfoot, whatever it was." And the conference center is supposedly haunted, and they had reports of weird goings on there. Well, some of the guys that were there setting up had said, well, one guy in particular had said that he thought that he heard someone call his name. And then at one point they thought they heard me and Ken like talking. Said, "Oh, Wolf and Ken are here." We weren't there. And then they texted me. And I don't want to put this guy on the spot because I don't know what he believes or what he doesn't believe. But he thought it was weird, and I thought it was kind of strange. And I told my wife, I said, "This place is supposedly haunted. We'll see what happens." Well, when I pushed that door and it pushed back, I finally got it open, and I was like, I honestly, I kid you not, folks, no pun intended, because I thought it was going to be a kid stand on the other side. But then when we were eating dinner with some of the listeners, they said that they could see that there was nobody. You could see through the crack of the doors, and then you could see underneath. There was nobody there. So whatever was pushing back on that door, I have no idea. And then you kind of go like, what is this? What's going on? Why is this happening? And I'm in the hallway, and I look down the hallway, and all I see is Josh Nonogio and Christopher Gaetano sitting on the floor, and they're both like looking at their phones like this. And they didn't even pay attention to me. I walked right by them, and they were just talking shop. And so I looked around. I didn't see anybody in that hallway. And at one point, I was sitting there, and this was during who was up talking? I want to say it was not David. It happened. It might have happened during his one too. Anyway, I was sitting there with the AV guy, and somebody was up to talk. Oh, it was Adam Davies. And when he was up bouncing around, whatever, I see the door kind of move again, and I look over, and I'm like, what the heck is that? And then me and the AV guy felt like wind, like gusts of wind go on our legs and then go up, not down. And then, like it should have gone like this, like, from the top. It happened a couple times. And he was like, "I'm freezing in here." And so he was wearing a sweater. And so I got up to check the door, and I went and I looked and I opened it. And there was nobody there. So I walked out again, and I walked around, and I was like, so I went around the conference, and I was looking to see if there were, somebody was like maybe messing around, or if there were kids running around. And I didn't see a lot of kids. I think Ann had her kids there, and Nellie was with Maddie, and they were coloring with them or something. And I didn't see, there weren't like children running amok, anything like that, because most people aren't bringing little children to a paranormal conference that can scare the crap out of them.
Yeah.
So I knew something was going on. Now, here's the weirdest thing. I went to the bathroom at one point, and I heard somebody come in and clear their throat. And I was like, when I was getting ready to walk out, I looked, and there was nobody. Like I could see that the stalls doors were open. And so I thought, that's weird. So I walked over and I looked. The stall was like open. Don't know what was going on. It was very weird. So I just chalked it up to maybe the place is haunted. Something's going on there. But what you were saying about that little creature, the story that was given to us by Jesse, like, oh my gosh, that was she's gonna come on the show, folks, and tell that story.
That was in the picture she drew.
Yeah, dude. That was and that was like right on target, because I got a story like that from Minnesota, from a person that lived in southern Minnesota, and they told me that when they were a kid, they had moved into a house. They had just moved. And so, see, Hollister says, I saw the door shake. Yeah, I didn't understand what was going on, what was causing that. Jordan Cogburn, thank you for that donation. Did I miss him? I don't know where I missed him.
Yeah, I didn't tell you all this, but like whenever I was in the restroom, it happened at one point in time when I was in the restroom. Like I heard on the other side of the wall, what sounded like someone kind of like groaning, like if like kind of groaning in pain. I mean, like it's not like they were in excruciating pain, but I heard like a person kind of go like, and and it just like kept had. I mean, I must have heard that same sound consistently while I was in the restroom like 5 or 6 times.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I left the restroom, I looked for like any doors or anything to get on the other side of that wall where that sound was coming from, and but we didn't have access to that area. Like all those doors were locked off, and I don't think anyone was on the other side of them. It was just like an empty part of the conference room of the convention center, and I never figured out what that was, but I didn't have time. I just had to get back to the vendor table.
Simone Freeman says, I don't think that door rattling was paranormal. I thought it was just someone trying to get in. No. Simone, I'm going to be real honest with you. We're not trying to scare people. I'm being honest. I was sitting right there by the AV guys, and we kept looking over. And you could see, like, what's her name said, Chris's wife. What's her name? I forget.
Laura.
Laura?
You're talking about
Chris Clough's wife.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So Laura, like she said, she noticed that there was nobody. The VIP people in front could see that. And I looked, and there was nobody there. You could see. So I don't know what that was. A few people are saying, Tracker C says, Josh, I did notice that the doors at times tried to open by themselves. Yes, a few times, yeah. It was weird. There was some weird stuff going on. I had a couple speakers that were like, was this place haunted? It was weird. I mean, it was really, really weird. Yeah, and so what ended up happening with this particular story that I got, it was back in July. Dang, it's already September.
I know.
I was going to say a couple weeks ago, and it's like, and it's still hot as
October
fire.
is coming up.
Huh?
October is going to come up for our Halloween.
Yeah.
show.
Yeah, but it was crazy. What ended up happening, and I'll tell you what happened. Oh, God, I gotta, this story creeps me the heck out. Oh, my gosh. I gotta psych myself up for this one, folks. Okay, do you want to hear a creepy story? Because some people don't. Some people don't really want to hear scary stuff all the time. So, I mean, if you want to hear a really scary story, tell me now. And if you don't want to hear a scary story, then I can move in another direction. Because it's not everybody's cup of tea. I get it. So I'll give you a few minutes to just give me your back here. I have people telling me my stories are too scary. Because apparently I'm the person to go to tell scary stories. Everybody says, yes, we're on it. Speak now or forever hold your peace. That sounded terrible. How do you do it? No. How do you do it? How does that work? Can you do it?
Like the maniacal laugh?
Yeah, that. Is that pretty good?
Yeah, I think that's as good as
I got it. I did it.
Yeah.
I did it. Yeah, I did a thing. I did the thing. Did you see it? No, but so yeah. See, I can't do it. I don't know. I tried. I gave it the old college try. Look, here's what happened. I had a young lady. She sent me. Her name was Scarlett, I believe, or that was her handle, whatever. But she said when I was a child, we moved to Minnesota, and she was sad. She had moved from one state to the next. She had moved from Michigan to Minnesota. She was bummed. Left behind a lot of her friends, whatever, because of her dad's job. Now, she's in her 40s now, but she was a kid. It was back in the 80s or something. And she said, we moved into this big 2-story house. And the rent was cheap. My dad did not want to hear it. 4 siblings, or 4 kids altogether. And she's like, no. Did not. It was. They knew driving up. Her one brother, in particular, knew that it was. He said, "This looks like the house where something bad really happened." Kind of house. You driving up. Mm-hmm. It's old. It's really big, really creepy, drafty, the whole 9 yards. Whatever. She said, in the wintertime we froze. In the summertime we burned up. It wasn't fun. It was dirt cheap. The landlord was weird. She said he was a weird guy, and he was, get this. This is what's really weird. She started out by telling me that he was pasty pale guy. And it's just, I read this, She said that the landlord was creepy, old, decrepit guy. with white, very wrinkled skin. She's like, have you ever seen those? This is what she said. It looked like a Halloween mask. You know, they have the Halloween mask. This is like an old person,
Yeah.
but it's exaggerated. She said he really looked like that. She's like, he really looked like, she called me Wolf. And I really appreciate that. People call me Wolf because I didn't go by Josh until I started doing this show. Nobody around Austin calls me Josh. They call me Wolf. And she says, Wolf, it was like if you saw that mask, it was one of those like Halloween look. She's like, I almost thought it was like he was wearing a mask. It was almost like it was not a real person. What do I need? I'm sitting here with my mouth full. I'm like, what do I need here? I want something to drink. Hang on one second. Oh, man. Oh, vitamin water. Dragon fruit. It's got the electrolytes. It's what the plants crave. Oh. So anyway, she said, dude, he always, and this is what's really weird too. She said that it's like he always came out at night. She said, we never saw him during the day. And she thought that was really creepy. And the only thing he asked was that there was a shed in the backyard. There were two of them. And then there was an old rundown greenhouse. Said that when his wife was alive that they lived in that house. They raised their family in that house. But one day she heard him tell her mother, after this stuff that started happening, he's like, it is an unusual house. And it has its own personality and you have to get used to it. She's like, her mom was like, well, it's been almost 4 months and I'm not used to it. Weird stuff started happening almost immediately. First crack of the bat, the first night they were there, her and her brother, and this creeps me out, they're sleeping, right? And they hear running up and down.
Like a child's
Like a
pitter-patter of
child's feet.
Oh, no.
The older sister, she was the second youngest. It was girl, boy, girl, boy. Those were her siblings. Her oldest sister looks down the hallway and screams. Now, picture this. Oh, God. When I read this is what I'm talking about, man. I get this, you get this. So she says she looks down the hallway. Thank goodness for the conference, right? We got more creepy stuff to talk about. But she looks down the hallway and she says that the next day they're eating breakfast. The mother's one of those people that cooks breakfast. She's a nice mom, not like ours, I'm kidding, Mom. If you're listening, I'm joking. You cooked breakfast a few times when I wasn't getting myself in trouble. So what ended up happening? She says she looks down the hallway and she sees this shadow about 2 feet tall. Stop. And then she says something like whipped around real fast. And she says like quickly. And then she saw just red eyes. And she said, I couldn't look away. Her sister, I think she said her name was Teresa. She said Teresa was staring at it. She's like, Teresa could not look away. She was just staring at it. And she saw a blink. And then she saw like just white right where the mouth should have been. And then it opened the mouth where the mouth should have been. And it was just rows of jaggedy teeth. And it had like what looked like hair flying off of it when it would move. And it was just all black. There was no like form, you know what I mean? It was just black. So at that point, it kind of went like it made a rattling noise. I just read it. I didn't, So then she ran back into her room and slammed the door and was just laying there with a cross, scared to death. So the next day they're at dinner or at breakfast, and she asked her sister, she's like, "Did y'all hear that noise in the hallway?" And her sister's just like eating, not wanting to talk, and finally she says, "Shut up," We'll call her Gina, the one that's telling the story. And she said, "Gina, just be quiet. I don't want to talk about it." And she's like, "Teresa, what did you see?" She's like, "I just told you. I don't want to talk about it." And she got so mad that she slammed the fork into the plate and broke the plate and bent the fork. And she said that it got progressively worse. Like the next night, they heard like giggling, laughing, like kids were playing, and there was like somebody rolling a ball back and forth in the hallway. And then they heard like a scratching noise at her brother's door. Her brother, we'll call him Jay, because I don't have permission to use it. I don't know him, but So anyway, he opens the door and he screams, and then it sounds like a cat or something is attacking him. So, and the whole time the parents are not awake for this at the beginning, right? So when they come out, oh no, it was the brother came out of the hallway. It was just him on this particular incident. And he runs over there and he sees this black shadowy thing crawling all over his brother, and what looked like it was trying to bite him. And he said that he remembers like these ears that were like something was hanging down off of its head, and they went up.
Like, the ears were like kind of floppy.
Flat,
and
they went
straight.
up, and then it turned and it ran toward him. It like got on the ground and crawled and ran toward him. And he said it was just weird the way it moved. It was kind of moving like this, like not zigzag, but just kind of the way she described it was side to side.
Yeah.
Like, and I messaged back like undulating. Yes. Yeah. Okay. That was I think the second or third incident, if I remember correctly. Hang on one second. I can find it in here. So there was about 5 different incidents that took place. Okay. And now I can tell you this, folks. If it was me and I was a child, now you can't do nothing about it. Like you're an adult. You can leave. But you're a child, you're stuck there. So then they go to school and the kids tell them, "Oh, you're living in the haunted house." There was a joke amongst some of the peers that the man that had lived there was like beyond old. Like he was like in his hundreds or something like that. And some people said he was a vampire. And that supposedly the basement or whatever, there was like some weird ritual that had been done there. And they opened up some kind of something or another. These were the rumors, stories or whatever. She said at the beginning, I just thought this was ridiculous. These stories are going beyond. She's like, yeah, some stuff's happening, but she wasn't exactly sure what it was because it wasn't really happening to her. And then one night she hears like a giggling, and she's laying on the bed, and she said something. It felt like something bit me, and I went down to slap whatever it was, and I hit something that was semi-solid. That felt like foam or something, and then she heard like a stumble, like boom, boom, boom. And she sits up in bed and she looks down at her leg, and it's not bleeding, but she says I could see it. And she said I had taken to sleeping with a flashlight. She was that scared. This is the first time that actually happened to her directly. So she shines the light and she sees that her leg is red, and she's like, oh my gosh. So while she's rubbing it, she sees this thing lift its head and with its teeth like bared, coming over the top of the back of the bed. So she's like, I don't know what possessed me to do this, but I threw the flashlight at it and I ran. And she's like, and I heard this like ringing behind me. And then when she turned the light on, this thing shot under the bed real quick. Now, you guys didn't see, the Nick Redfern's presentation or whatever. You didn't get to see it, but he talked about when he was a child. He showed a picture when he was a kid, and he said he was a little child and he had what he thought. His dad told him he would see a monster under his bed. And Nick Redfern talked about his encounter with a Dogman from 2003. A lot of people don't know that Nick Redfern had an encounter. It was in my book. If you haven't read the book, go get it. And you guys are asking me what the creepiest story is. This is the creepiest story I've had this year. Let's put it that way. I've had some creepy ones, but this is a pretty darn creepy one. And it was back in, well, you know what? When was it? I think I was sick at that time when I read it, so I didn't really. Was that like mid-July, right after my birthday?
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm sitting here and I'm listening, or I'm going over to my head, replaying it in my head. And I was like actually in the bathroom or something, and I was just thinking about it, and I was like, what is this? Like, it's so disturbing about this. It's so disturbing. And I think what it is like these little, and I wanted to do an episode, the next episode, I don't know what we're going to do yet, but I was thinking about calling it Gremlins and then doing, because I got one from a trucker that was going through to Denton, and he said he stopped. And he gave me a story about the water park. He saw the water park next door, and he said remember I told you guys about this? He was a security guard.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it was creepy. It was really freaking creepy. And it was along the lines of what Jesse was saying. And I just thought it was so weird that people were talking about these little black, shadowy creatures with weird-looking heads. And I told Jesse, I said, dude, she was going to tell me all of the story, which she told me part of it, which was scary enough.
Yeah.
And then she told Nellie, and I think you guys, right?
Yeah.
And so then she had a whole book of stuff, of incidents that she had. She was showing me. I was like, yeah, because, usually you don't just have like one little thing that happens. There's like a bevy of things that go on. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Adjust this. But yeah, imps. Adam Paulson says, yeah, imps. That's what it is. And I couldn't help but wonder when we were dealing with the conference if it wasn't something like that. Because one of the people had told me that one of the things that they saw was like this small little shadowy thing that would run around in the corner. Now, you remember your brother was at the conference, Anthony.
Yeah.
And we talked about his encounter with that it had to have been an imp, right?
Yeah, he saw the same thing.
Yeah. So and it was so weird. It was like a shadow. They were hiding. And what was happening? He was hiding, right?
Yeah.
Now, before I go any further with this story, tell this story. Your brother, what he told us. And it was right across the street from the insane asylum that used to be in Taylor.
Yeah, he said that he was at a friend's house who lived across the street from this insane asylum that was in Taylor. It was called the Wedemeyer Hospital. And he said, I think he heard it first. He heard like the same thing, like a little pitter patter.
Yeah.
And like he would see this thing like shoot across the hallway, and he just described it the same way as like a small little like black shadowy imp thing. And like you would hear it, and you catch flashes of it, but it was like it was there, but it was trying to stay out of sight, but you could still tell it was there.
Yeah.
It's so strange.
He saw it fall, yeah.
Yeah.
And then it like it tripped and fell, but it was all black like a shadow.
Yeah.
And I had a story that somebody had given me, and this one came from my brother's friend Brett from years ago, and Brett was eclectic and weird to say the least, but he was a nice guy. I like Brett. He was cool, man. He smoked a lot. But I mean, he told me a story one time when he was living up in northern Montana near the border, and he was out chopping firewood one day, and when he hit one of the logs, it was late fall, and it was already starting to get really, really cold, and he heard something shriek, and he looks up, and he saw, and I have all this together because when I started going through the archives or whatever, and when I was reading that story, I was like, because we do have a system, it's not just random. I'm like, what do we have on this? And I did have it filed under imp. And I hadn't really put a whole lot in that file lately in the last couple of years, and I should have. But then again, I was filing things under elves, and so we need to come up with some kind of system. Like, are they elves? Are they goblins? Are they gremlins? Are they imps? What are they? I don't know. Duendes, because I have them all separate because I'm trying to figure out if there's some sort of classification we should be looking at here. But
I guess we could
Smurf,
go by happy,
gone bad.
angry, grumpy, based on however they interact, right? Just go by the seven
Typically, they're
dwarfs.
little turds. I mean, I'm gonna be real honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't met any nice imps, so I guess that kind of answers the question of, like, are they evil? Well, I've never really heard any stories where they aren't doing something bad.
Somebody said cocaine. That would put it in a whole nother category. We see those downtown. But what's crazy though, when you look at Brett's story, and that's not a real long one. And I remember Diablo had said, "Hey, that's what my nickname for my brother." He says, you should look at Brett. Go back and look at what Brett told us, because he was home. What was it? Before we left, we had, and we were going over some stuff, and he's like, we were talking about that particular case. It just kind of came up in passing. I think we're at the dinner. I think it was me, you, and him at the dinner table, wasn't it, Anthony?
I think so.
And so we were talking about it, and he goes, "Remember Brett's case?" So I went back and I found it. I was looking under elf, dwarf, every kind of whatever, and then I thought, it's probably under imp. So and there it goes. Brett's case was weird. Brett actually he believed this thing was it was so real to him, because some people would say, "Well, no, you saw something, but it was a shadow. It was just a shadow, blah, blah, blah," and they try to downplay it. But he split a piece of wood and he hears something go, "Ah." And he thought, "What the heck is that?" So he goes he strikes it again and he hears it again. "Ah," like something screaming. Like from, he's looking around. He's like, "Dude, I know I'm not tripping. I heard something." And so he puts the axe down and he goes and he's looking, and then he starts looking around the wood pile and he sees something kind of look around the corner and go like that. And he sees this black looking thing. And he said it was terrifying looking, had red eyes. It was broad daylight. I mean, it was getting dark, but it was daylight. And he said, and I'm going like, "What the heck is that?" And he's not living off the grid, but he's dang near close. He's not like, he's pretty much like got very limited. There's no internet, none of that. This was like 15, 20 years ago. I think he said it was like 2002, if I read it correctly. And I knew him back in the late 90s, and I hadn't seen him since then. I don't know what he's doing these days, but he was looking around the woodpile, and he thought, "What am I dealing with here?" Well, that night, he just goes back inside, and he takes the wood, and he tells his wife, he's like, "I don't know, I saw something weird." And she's like, "What did it look like?" When he described it, she said, "No, I saw something like that the other day, chasing the cat." And he's like, "Really?" She's like, "Yeah, but I thought I was tripping, I was like, what is that? Like this black shadowy thing." So they go to sleep, and then that night he feels the sharpest pain on his body he's ever felt in his life. And he wakes up with an excruciating pain on his big toe. And he said he thought that something had bit him. So he looks down and he sees this creature just going, "Ah." And just like, when it only had 3 fingers and a thumb. It only had 4 fingers. And he said, and it's like grabbing his toe, and it goes to bite and he kicked it. And when he did, it flew backwards. But it was completely black, same thing. And I think the difference, if you want to classify it, would be this black little creature was like an imp, like it was just like a little black creature. Like an elf or a dwarf or whatever would be something maybe that has like color to it, right? Or something, right? Would that be a good way to classify? I don't know. I'm trying to figure out what to call it. But anyway, he kicked it. And it flew back, and get this, it went into the fireplace. And it began to scream, and he said that it was like really quick, like it went up in flames really fast. And he didn't hear like a "ah" or a scream or nothing. He said it was just like, whoosh, and when it did, it was like a puff of smoke swirled around and then went up and then up the chimney and out, like a spirit or something had gone out. And he said that he saw this one like red, it looked like a coal drop, come down and just land in the fire. So he went over there to it, and he got the little, deals and pulled it out. And he's like, he just crushed it. It was like just like a red ember, but it looked so unnatural. So, you have that story. Now back to what was going on in Minnesota. What happened in this house? She said it got really cold in the wintertime, and it snowed, and they were supposed to go to school, but it was really bad. There was like a bad storm or something. And so they just decided, hey, so many feet of snow, whatever, we're not going to be able to get out, whatever. So they were in the house for a couple of days. And it's not like Texas where, there's a little bit of powder, and they're like, "Oh, stop the presses, folks. We're not going to work. We're not going to school. We got a little sprinkle of snow here, it's 20 degrees. Let's quit living." Now, you're up in Minnesota, and you people know that. If it snows up there, well, you know what? You just go to work.
It's just another day.
Just another day. But she said this was really bad. It was like a blizzard or something. And her mother just kind of made the choice. I don't care whether I just can't remember. She couldn't remember whether it was a school day where they didn't go because of the bad weather, or the mom had just decided not to. So what ended up happening? They were in the house for like 2 days. There was snow all over the place. And they look outside the window at night, and they see these little creatures jumping around off of, they had like these, when you walk up the steps, the way she described it, there were these two, I forgot what she called them. Like there were these two, like, I forgot. I know exactly what she's talking about, and I can't remember what the heck they're called, but it's like, they're just there, like the sides of the stairs. The stairs are really wide. You walk up it, And I don't know how to even describe I can't remember the name of it, but she said that what she called them. But they were jumping off of those into the snow. And they were leaving physical impressions in the snow. And she said her and her 3 siblings were looking out the window and watching them. And that one of them looked up at them and was like beckoning to them to come out and play. And it's like nighttime. And they're like, what in the heck is going on here? And then they told the mom. She was just like, I don't believe that. I don't, whatever. Then something else happened, and the mother was in the tub, and they didn't have showers in this place. It was a tub. And you know how if you're taking a bath, you dunk your head to come back up, whatever,
Yeah.
And when she came to dunk her head, one of these little creatures jumped over the top of it and just pushed her down in it. And that was it. The mom reached over and was fighting, grasping, splashing, and making so much noise that the oldest daughter was walking by, and she was like, what the heck is going on? Mom's making a bunch of noise. She opens the door, and she jumps up, and one of these little things goes, get this, flattens itself out into like a spot, and then like a moving shadow spot, and goes under the baseboard.
Gross.
And I was like, at that point, she was just like, we're done. The mom was like, I'm getting out of here. And the dad was real stubborn. He's like, oh, no, the rent's dirt cheap. We're renting from a vampire that's got a bunch of imps running around here. Why not? Why not, right? And it's and guys, I'm not trying to offend you, but I'm going to be real honest. It's always the dudes.
Yeah.
Women are like, we're getting attacked by satanic ninjas. And the guy's like, I didn't see nothing. I mean, I saw the devil with a sword, but I don't know if it's a ninja. Taking it a little too far, and the woman's just like in holy terror, and it's always like that. If you watch those haunting in Switzerland, haunting in whatever state, pick one.
Yeah, the husband's just like stuff.
Ghost, no ghost here.
Yeah, here's my reenactment of it. They interview the guy, and the guy's he always looks like he's annoyed to be there. He's like, and like, what did you see? And I was like, I didn't see nothing, man. Like, I saw the devil, Bigfoot, Loch Ness Monster, and some werewolves, but I didn't really see nothing, man. I got scratched, and one of my nipples got torn off,
I'm missing a leg.
Do you think that's, and they're like, no, it's normal, it's normal. That's what happens, And they're like, and then the guy's like, one day I got really, really upset because, it ate one of my toes, whatever it was, one of those crocodilian-looking creatures. But, I didn't see anything, really, nothing weird to me. And you're just going like, what? What part of
just put some duct
how much
tape on
denial can you be in? And then they talk to the wife, and she's like, I was terrified for my life. My children their souls were bleeding, and we were crying out to Jesus. And, and it's just like a totally, I even saw one where the guy was like, said that a shadow came at him, chased him out of the bathroom, and he's like, I just saw shadows.
Yeah, I remember that episode.
We're sitting there watching it. We're laughing so hard.
I seen shadows. I didn't think nothing of it.
Whatever. The devil comes and goes out of this green portal. And, I don't care as long as he don't bother me. It's all right. Whatever. He hits my kids sometimes.
Yeah. The wife and kids just being hysterical.
All them dang books.
Yeah. Reading ain't never done nothing for nobody.
All them Redfern and Josh Turner books to be reading. That's why the crap's going on. Was just that bull crap. Going to school and whatever else they're doing.
What are you going to learn from a man named Ken Gerhard?
Ken Gerard.
Gerard.
Bartan Nunland, whatever his name is. I don't know what these people are doing.
These folks with their long hair and their weird names.
Their fancy
Brad
hats.
Steger,
Yeah.
Chad Lewis.
I think it just like it makes men feel like marginalized to admit like that there's something going on within their own house.
Hold
that
on
they
though.
can't-
That's one way of like looking at it. But
It's like
what
a
about the
macho
buyer?
thing.
I mean, I shouldn't say that, but what about the one out of Taylor, the outskirts?
Mhm.
Okay, that guy was in so much denial it wasn't even funny.
Yeah.
He's talking. He was seeing slime coming off the wall, and he was trying to say that there was mold. I'm like, dude, shut up. You know, like, we walk in the house and there's like that ninja blender. You know, oh well, yeah, it happens sometimes. Well, back to drinking my Coors and watching, you know, the Cowboys. I'm like, what is wrong with this dude? Like, what? The washing machine's bouncing around. Yeah, my son's seen a werewolf outside. I don't know, man. I mean, you know, one of my kids has been missing for a few days. She'll come back. She'll come back. It's we remain hopeful, you know, and you're just like, what is wrong with these people? What is wrong with these people? But it is like that. And yeah, I get what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead and repeat it.
I was saying like it's like a pride thing, in my opinion. It makes men feel like marginalized to have to admit there's something going on in their house. It's affecting their kids or their wife, and they have no control over it. There's nothing they can do. So rather than admit that and feel like they're failing as fathers or husbands to protect their family, they're just like, there's nothing there. They're just being ridiculous. You know, I don't see nothing, rah rah. But I mean, he does. They probably do. They don't want to admit it.
Yeah.
Because it's like they got this pride, like, oh, I'm the man of the house, so this can't be going on.
Yeah, they're supposed to just walk in and say, stop. And if it doesn't stop, well, then that's when you get the whooping stick out and you just hit the kids.
Yeah.
These darn kids, if you don't stop seeing ghosts, you're going to catch a beating. I'm going to tell you right now, I ain't playing around. The ghost slaps him on the back of the head. Which one of you kids hit me that's in front of me? Well, that was the demon that's behind you. I ain't going to hear about no demons, man. Demon's literally biting his neck. Okay, now you're playing tricks on me. Come on. It gets ridiculous. The thing is, you know, some of this stuff is so far gone. You know, you can't rationalize it away. You can't, you know, wish it into the cornfield. It's not going to happen. It is what it is. The last thing I remember in the story that she sent me was this thing when it attacked the mom, and then she had an incident that involved, I think it was something like this is going to sound funny, like a toaster strudel or a Pop-Tart or something. Can't remember what it was. She put a pastry or something in a toaster oven. This happened to her. And one of these creatures, like, literally was like running along the counter. And she said that the way that some of them would run, they would move side to side. She's like, you ever seen a skunk, how it moves, you know? Mm-hmm. And it has a tail that just kind of moves, like, you know. So it was kind of moving back and forth, and it ran and knocked the toaster over. And these strudels or whatever went flying across the room. And then the dad comes in, and he's completely in denial. And he sounds like a real butthole. Sorry, I'm not talking about the guy, your dad. I'm sorry. But I mean, he sounds like a butthole. I'm sorry. He comes in and starts screaming and yelling, I don't want to hear no more talk of these gremlins and goblins and stuff and blah, blah, blah. So then, this is the weirdest, to me, the weirdest part of this whole story, and this is what really stuck with me when I read this. She said that at the end of this whole ordeal, the mom was freaking out and crying or whatever. The weird old man shows up and says, if you guys want to break out of your lease, whatever, I'll let you go, you know. And the dad was like, no, we're not going to move, you know. And the mom was like, yes, we are. We're moving. And there was a huge fight that night when he left. Then mom asked the dad asked the mom, why did you tell, you know, whatever this guy's name was? She don't remember the guy's name. Why did you tell Count Dracula that we're...
Yeah.
Why'd you tell...
Nosferatu.
Yeah, the Nosferatu. The Six Flags. More flags, more fun, you know. Why did you tell the Six Flags guy that, you know, we're moving? She's like, I didn't tell me. I thought you did. Well, then it goes back, you know, he's like, well, I didn't tell, I thought you did. So how did this guy know to come up in his creepy old car and get out and say, if you want to leave, you know, go ahead.
Yeah.
Like, what is that? Then as they're leaving and they're doing their final walkthrough and check, they look up, her and one of her, the younger brother, they look up and they see 3 of these little creatures standing down there, like smiling at them, laughing, like snickering, like hee hee hee, you know, and then they all run. And they just ran out of the house, you know, the 2 kids. And then there's more flags, more fun comes up, and he's like, you know, he's dancing around. I'm just joking. But he comes in, and he's like, I just want to make sure that everything's okay. He's like, you know, there's a lot of valuable things in this house. And they're like, no, there's not. It's a crappy, creepy, old, broken down house with nothing. And he says, well, I think this is what she says. She remembers this guy telling her parents, he goes, you've disturbed the residents. And his dad's like, excuse me? We're the residents. And he's like, okay. And he walks off. And she said he always smelled like mothballs and whatever. Like he just was gross, nasty, decrepit old man that looked like 1,000 years old.
Yeah.
Should have got more information. We could have had the Immortals episode. But, you know, it's I don't know. Dracula property manager. You know, it's a very weird story, you know, and I wondered about it, you know, and I thought, dude, this is probably that would be one of the scariest I gotten from the you know, if you want to talk about houses, haunted houses, that's a scary one. Now I've got some others that were Dogman, cryptid related, but that one, as far as I'm concerned, would scare the crap out of me. I mean, if you move into a house and you think about it, you move into a house that's haunted. You know, what do you think of when you hear haunted house? I'm going to ask you first, Anthony. Like, what is the first thought that comes to your head?
Spirits.
Yeah, like ghosts, like human ghosts, maybe?
Yeah.
What about you?
Well, I mean, I guess I'm a little bit more used to human ghosts. I would think of something a little bit more dark and devious, like more poltergeist kind of things, or something more demonic, maybe. But I wouldn't think immediately of just ghosts, because I think ghosts are just around all the time.
Yeah,
right?
me too, because you
Yeah.
were raised that way.
Yeah.
For me, when I hear the word haunted house, the ghost doesn't even come. It's like, you're like, ghosts?
Yeah.
Who cares about ghosts? It's like, I'm more scared of like a rabid animal coming to my house than a ghost. Like, you know, ghosts is like, there's like an apparition. You're like, you know, there's always like some sort of scary, you know, kid running around doing like, I'm like, I'm trying to sleep, all right? Stop running around. You know, don't be in my house. You're not going to pay rent. Now, I
Anthony,
think of
quit
like some
levitating,
demonic.
right?
Yeah, exactly. I think it's some demonic something.
Yeah.
Something's going on, but it doesn't really come into your mind of some impish little creatures from who knows where. You know what I mean? Now,
Being mischievous too. That's the
being
thing.
well mischievous to violent, basically. It goes, you know, from one.
Well, different ends of the spectrum. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I would say this: if I was those people, I would have been very angry at that old man. I don't know what I would have done to him. I probably would have ended up having issue with him. You know, come back and, you know, torch the place. I'm joking. I don't know what I would have done. You know, it's hard to say.
With
Tell
a
me in your
steak.
comments, folks. Let me know what do you think was going on with that? I mean, what do you think was going on there? Undertaker and spike balls from Fantastic. Exactly. Maybe the old man was just 2 or 3 of the little imp gremlins things standing on top of each other in a trench coat and a mask. He still won't say the house was haunted. He says it had weird energy. Pretty much. All predators. Yep. They are. Satanic versions of Dobie. Dobie was, to me. I don't care. I hated that little character. I don't care.
I never understood
They could
how
try to church him up. I
He's
don't give
weird
a crap.
looking.
He's a little demon is all he is.
Yeah, I didn't get how that could be like one of the good guys or whatever. It's a little monster. And I didn't feel bad at the end when he checked out.
I didn't even
I
watch
was
it
like,
again.
dude, finally.
He died?
I didn't
Yeah.
watch it.
If I remember right, he
I
did.
don't remember.
And it was supposed to be like all tragic and stuff. Like,
Yeah, I think maybe he did. I don't know. And just like Jack Nicholson. You ever seen that? It was Elijah Wood. And he was like, at the awards, and he got in the elevator with Jack Nicholson, and Jack Nicholson, he's like, so I have a question. At the end of the movie, did you die? And Elijah Wood was like, no, I lived. He goes, oh, well, that's good to know. I didn't know if you lived or died. I didn't finish the end of the movie. He says just him and Jack Nicholson. He's like, Elijah Wood, he's got that little childlike face, and he's like, I'm like pushed over the other side of the elevator, like, hey, yeah, okay, cool. And he's like, all right, good talking to you. And he like gets off, and he's like, I'm kind of relieved because I'm like, Jack Nicholson can be kind of creepy, you know? I mean,
he's got that calm killer vibe.
Very intense.
Especially when you watch The Shining,
Yeah.
and it's like, I'm trying to write my book,
Yeah.
And then he had olive oil over there. Oh my god!
When he's talking to that dude in the bathroom.
It's
It's his mother. Yeah. Interferes.
Yeah, it's so weird. And then The Shining was filmed at the Stanley Hotel, which is the most haunted hotel in the country by USA Today poll. What was number 2? The hotel we stayed at.
Yeah, the
Emily
Morgan.
Yeah, and then and I just kept thinking, like, he's going to be there typing, can I help you? Like, like, what are you doing in my room? Creepy stuff, man. So those are some that's, if you want to know one of the scary stories, that I haven't given you, that was it. That was probably, and then I don't like spiders. So there was another one involving a large spider that scared the hell out of me. I'm not going to lie. And when they were telling me, it was about 2 years ago, I was working over at 512. And I was in the garage. And I had just gotten threatened by a guy with a machete. And I'm not joking, folks. This is South Austin. Just South Austin, I will say it. It is trash, okay? If you live in South Austin, stop denying, okay? It's trash. You're living around trash. It is trash, all right? South Austin is trash. And I don't care how many people I offend with that statement. You're trash, all right? No, I'm joking. You're not trash, but you're living in trash. It is a dumpy, I just don't like, I got to go there tonight. I don't like it. It's a dumpy, crappy area. And there's always people running around and, just with loads in their pants. I mean, I'm not joking.
Yeah, it's like there's not
You see
even
bums fighting there all the time.
There's not even like nice areas within South Austin.
No, it's just garbage.
Crap.
And then they have the little sticker, South Austin secede. Please do us a favor and go and let's divorce, split. You get all of whatever is south of the river. It's yours. You can have that. We want you to have it, folks. But you can't come to our side of whatever if you're down there and you refuse to assimilate into society. Stay down there with the wildness, okay? We don't need it. There's a bunch of trash. I left there because women were selling their wares in front of my house. When you get out to go to work and they're like, hey, baby, half price sale. And they're like, what are you doing in my yard? Like, go away.
Yeah.
And then you got somebody over there like, hey, man, hey, you want some? No, I don't want anything. Go away. And I'm like, well, what is it? Let me see. No, I don't want that. I'm joking, folks. I never did that. No, it's just garbage. It's trash. It's trash. Yeah, Joe Breezy, you're right. I remember when I lived there for 10 years. I remember when you could walk outside and not step on a hypodermic needle or on somebody's cardboard box. It's their house. It's ridiculous. But the thing is, if you stop and you look at this, it's like I was there, and I was sitting in a parking garage, and that place was a little rough. It was nice. They built like a nice place in the middle of garbage town.
Yeah.
And then they're like, we're having problems. I'm like, no shit you are. I mean, I go first night I'm there, and this guy beats up his girlfriend, and then he's like, his excuse to me, he's like, but the B word, was acting a fool. I'm like, oh, okay.
Since you put it that way,
I thought there was a problem. I was like, well, I was way off. I thought you would beat her up for no reason. I thought there was no reason, dude. Sorry, man. I'm sorry I knocked on your door. You know what? Here's the card to my show. Check it out. It's called Paranormal Roundtable.
carry on, brother.
She's laying there like, and I'm sorry for your trouble, but you need to stop being that way. This guy works hard. She's like, no, he just sells crack. Well, hustling is hustling. I got to go. No, that's not what happened, folks. That's not what happened. That is not what happened. And it's not funny what happened to her. But it looked to me like she gave him as much as he gave her because his whole body was like scar. It looked like she had dug into him and she had pulled out part of his hair and then he had smacked her and it was bad. And that was like the first night I was over there. And this is a nice place. And then we get a call and she's like, well, the way your guard handled it. And I'm she's like, yes. Your guard last night was a little heavy-handed. I go, oh, really? She's like, yes, and he scared my residents with his gun. I'm like, wow. Ooh, that's horrible. What kind of gun was he wearing? They made up some bull crap. It was a 38 automatic, 45, 12 shotgun revolver, whatever. I'm like, yeah, oh, wow, that's amazing. That's horrible. You know what? I'll make sure that guard behaves. And I go back the next night like, yeah, keep it up. And then I have the guy with the machete with the COVID mask, and he's doing this. He's trying to make sparks, but all he's doing is dulling his machete until I finally walked over to him. And he's all doing this, whatever, like Indiana Jones. And I'm just like, oh, okay, all right, I'm leaving. Yeah, okay, goodbye. Thank you for playing. See ya. And I'm not gonna sit here and play with this guy. What are we gonna do? Play swords? Are we gonna play fight? Stop digging in my trash. It's not mine, but but it's South Austin. It's trash. It's trash, and that's all it is. And so, I'm sitting there, and this guy tells me a story of a big, creepy, satanic spider that chased him in a parking garage in Memphis, Tennessee. And I'm like, what? And while I'm sitting here and I'm like looking at my phone, I'm reading this and I'm like looking around because I worked at a parking garage, Centennial condos that had like spiders all over the ceiling, So I'm like going, oh, it was cold, but I had my diesel on and it was, the heat was blowing. And I get out to do my round, and my back was kind of hurt, and that garage is like, you walk the garage, it's like, it's tiring.
Yeah.
So I put my hand, and that place is built like a maze too. So I'm like, I put my hand on the wall, and I'm stretching, and I feel like something touched my finger, and I look, and there's this humongous spider, one of its legs. I'm like, ah! So when I did, I pulled away, and I threw it over the top of me, and I'm like, oh, God, okay, it's not on the ground. I'm like, I'm doomed. So I'm taking my shirt off, which is, I had a jacket, and the shirt, I'm taking, and I'm over there shaking, looking around or whatever, and there's these people walking by. And I'm like, hey, like, I stop real, just kind of like.
I'm here to protect you.
And then the next thing you know, I get a call, and Marty, that's my business partner, he's like, we got a call of a half-naked homeless guy running around screaming, in the fifth floor. And I was like, I was going to say it was me. Don't worry about it. But I said, oh, you know what? I'll go check it out. And so I did. I just, for whatever, for giggles, I went up there. I went back over there and I looked and I was like, I had already burned my shirt by that point, I'm kidding. I didn't do that. But I shook it out real good, made sure. It was creepy. I don't even know what kind of spider. I didn't have time to look. It was just brown, and I threw it. And I was like, that's it. I don't know where it went, and hopefully it went into the mouth of hell where it came from. But think about it. You just, like 30 minutes before, whatever, I'm reading a story about a spider, which I'm not going to talk about on this show because I have plans for that one. But,
Yeah, that's one reason I hated working those construction sites is because, they're like half-built homes, so you have to go inside. You go inside them, and you keep seeing these spiders that will literally just run right after you.
Yeah, those big old wolf spiders.
Mm-hmm.
And then when they do the pest control for them, there's like dead wolf spiders and scorpions all over the place.
Yeah, I mean,
It's just nasty, dude.
no, there's too many of them too. And another thing is those porta potties, man. They're just spider dens as well.
Oh yeah, I had one crawl on me. I had one crawl on me when I was in there doing my business, and I just like kicked that door open, and like I not gonna get too graphic, but I wasn't even done doing what I was doing, and I got out of there and was like doing all this crap, like my pants down and everything. Luckily, it was overnight, so that and I was on the job, and there was no one there, no one there to see me like outside the porta potty with my pants down, panicking, like slapping myself all over.
Well, there's not much to see, so I guess there weren't really
There's
that.
not much to see with you.
Okay, you can. Okay, whatever.
Okay, look at this.
Oh,
Look at these noodles. Yeah, you want to
over
go there?
here
Let's
gonna
go
be
there.
complaining.
Huh?
You know, I don't have to show anything. All right. I got plenty. I'm the face of the show.
Yeah, you're the face of the show. What about the arms of the show?
Together we make a whole person
Oh, okay. Well, I'm a whole person already. So we make
with
like
a tiny head.
we make 1.5 people. I mean, like, are our heads really that? Put your head next to mine. Are they really that different? Like, I think you have a small head too.
No, Tony's got a bigger head than you, but he's got really scrawny arms. Like yours are skinny,
guess I
but
need
yours
to
are
do
more
like a-
defined. You work out.
I need to do a head workout then.
I've never
I need to read more.
I've looked over and I've seen you doing this, and you're like, like we're in the gym.
Mhm.
I've looked over and I see Tony. He's like, and then when he sees us, he's like, and then when we stop looking, I know when he thinks we're not looking, he's like, you're only cheating yourself, dude. I mean, you're the one that lives in that body, not us. I mean, you're not hurting me. I just laugh. I'm like, whatever, dude.
Something on your shirt. Somebody says, "What's that on? What's on Mushu's shirt?"
Just in humanoid.
But maybe they're talking about the pendant.
The pendant is what is that? Say Saint Benedict?
Yeah, it's the same pendant.
Well, what's crazy though, like I've seen Tony, like when I've needed help to like rack, he'll go out of his that'll make him work out more because he don't want to have to help me rack weights. So he'll pretend to work out hard and do more extra stuff than go to the other side of the gym, so that he cannot be bothered to be.
I think you're just kind of projecting or
No,
whatever.
I think that's kind of true. Anthony even said it was too. So
I think you're
both-
kind of both
we
projecting.
both agree on that. So
I very seldom.
Oh
see
yes, because you both agree it's true.
2 against 1.
I very
Two
seldom
against
see
one,
you in
no.
pain in the gym. That's all I'm saying.
Well, I'm usually in pain when I have to look at your face.
He's.
Well, then you have a very low pain tolerance, my friend.
This is stupid. Okay, this is a stupid conversation. Your face are both stupid, all right? Look, the thing is though, when you're in the gym, you're there to work out. What was that?
What?
You hear that knock?
Mm-mm.
I guess the lawyers are next door. Well, my lawyers. Somebody asked me, folks, about that, why I posted that on Facebook. Well, people are trying to mess with me a little bit, and they're going to find out because I'm that man of my word. And when I tell you that I'm going to sue you, I mean it. And I told somebody they needed to back off. I do have defamation attorneys. How many sets of attorneys do I have now? What is it, 5 or 6?
Yeah, too many.
Too many. Real estate. Okay, I mean, it just, because somebody is just content. They won't stop. Okay, and there's this person. I tried to make peace with them, and I told them, look, you did what you did. You attacked some friends of mine, and you went out of your way to be a really snotty. Anytime somebody got attacked, or there was a Dogman attack, or Bigfoot, whatever, it doesn't matter. He runs up there and has to make sure that everybody knows that it wasn't one of these cryptids. And I'm like, what are you? What are you their lawyer? I just want you to know that my client, the Dogman, and there's like snapping photos and stuff. He's here, and he is not responsible for any of these bad things that have happened at all, ever. It had to be the neighbor's Chihuahua. I do believe a gang of Chihuahuas attacked, and the reports, if the police say that it was anything other than a dog, they're lying. But when the police say that it was definitely a dog, they're telling the truth. And to me, it was like this is what this guy was doing. Like he was just like on some kind of crusade.
No.
And it got old. I was just like, dude, why do you do? A couple people, yeah. I mean, he was right, I think. But then a guy where he was like just constantly going after people, like going after them, going for their throat because they were saying that these weren't dog attacks. And I'm, look, dude. I get that you love these. I don't know if he loves these creatures. I don't know what his deal is. I don't know. He was trying to make a name for himself with that, like another particular guy who wanted to be the Wendigo guy. And I'm like, you're not. Chad Lewis is. and this other guy, you know, and so oh, we're just very disappointed in Josh Turner. I don't give a crap. Be disappointed. You're not somebody that I need. I don't need your approval. Now you can talk like men. We can talk like men, and we can work it out, or we can just be, you know, whatever. So that's what that was about. I just was you know, kind of sending a message there that if people want to keep messing with me, that's what happens. Something's going to happen. I'm not going to take it. I'm not going to take people's crap. Now, trolling and being stupid is one thing, but when you start slandering and just outright lying and bearing false witness, then that's a problem. It's within my right to defend myself, right?
Oh, yeah, Matt, I just made a good comment. He said it wasn't Chihuahuas after me and my buddies in a steel mill.
Yeah. Oh no, Matt, it was for him. It would be.
Yeah.
He's gone around, you know, and so what are you? Are you a shill? I mean, why do you do it? Why do you do what you do? What is the point to that? I can tell you a story. This is a Dogman story, and I got this one. This one was out of Ohio, and it was up there near. Man, knife got all wet. Well, this guy, he was originally from Cleveland, and he was driving from Cleveland to Cincinnati. And did you hear that?
Like a pop from behind you?
It was like a brushing something. Did you hear like something scrubbing?
I mean, I heard like this pop from behind you. But besides that, nothing else.
I don't know what that was. I keep hearing weird noises, folks. Anyways, it doesn't matter. The thing is, this guy, he was driving, and his name was Edward. I call him Ed, and he likes to go by Evil Ed. He's kind of a funny guy, but he lives here in Texas now. But years ago, he was with somebody, and he was leaving the great city of Cleveland. Like, who the heck? Why wouldn't you? You know, and people leave it. Cleveland's claim to fame is that their river caught on fire.
Yeah, they have a river fire and
their fish all have cancer But hey, it's not Detroit. I mean, that's
Yeah.
it's like Denny's. Hey, it's late. You know, no, thank you.
At least we're not a dumpster.
The population of Cleveland is just rapidly, shrinking, kind of like Chicago is now, and they're all coming here. Not Cleveland, but Chicago. So what happened is he was driving, and he had broken up with this girl, and he had moved up there for love, basically. And Matt says it's an hour from you. I'm sorry. So he was driving to Cincinnati to go stay with a friend that he had met that had a place there. And this was like way back in the 90s or whatever, late 90s. And on his way, he stopped at a gas station, and something really weird happened. Now, I'm going to tell you this story, and I don't want you to think that I'm saying that this is the gospel, that this is the truth, or this is what I even believe. All I'm telling you is what he told me, and I shouldn't have called it a dog man, because that's not, to me, that's not really what it was. It's not really what it was. It's not what it is. And he stopped at an all-night gas station. He's like, I have a story for you, and I don't want you to think I'm, BSing you. And he's like, but I'm telling you the absolute truth. This thing happened to me. It's the truth. He goes, I go in there to pay for my gas. It was like overnight, whatever. I walk in there. There's nobody there. There's nobody. I need to get my gas, So I walk in. All I have is cash. And he says, I go in the store and I hear this like rustling sound coming from, I'm walking around trying to find the attendant. And he hears like something in a closet or something like, like a utility closet. And he hears like a boom, 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 moving around, bouncing around, whatever. And then when he starts to talk, hey, he hears like this, and it stops. And then he hears like something move toward the door. Now, very reminiscent, according to him, of when you have a dog, and you know how your dog, like our dogs, they try to get into our bedrooms or whatever.
Yeah.
And then you say, "Hey, Elvira, knock it off," and then she stops. When she was young, she did that. And then, of course, Bean now, Bean is Bean,
Yeah.
And so he goes, I hear this, like, it sounds like a dog. And he's like, you know, I know it's not a dog. It can't be a dog. I mean, you know, if it is a dog, it's not. It doesn't really sound like a dog. And then he hears this kind of not because you know a dog behind a door would probably be starting to whine,
Yeah.
trying to get out. And he goes, I just got this really creepy feeling that there was something that wasn't right. Something was wrong with the situation. And he goes, then I hear ba-boom, ba-boom, you know, coming from in there. And the door is like moving, you know, like bouncing. And he's like, okay, I need to get out of here. He's like, you know, I had like a Gatorade and you know, like a cup of coffee or something. He said, I just set it down. And I'm like, I guess I'm not getting gas here. And he says, as he is leaving this gas station and the doors, you know, he walks out and the door closes behind him. He turns and he looks and he sees this large, it wasn't on all fours, on two legs. It was just like what looked like a wolf. And it ran toward the door and was like sniffing around, whatever. And then it got up on its hind legs and pushed on the door. And thank goodness one of the doors was closed, like locked, and the other door was open. Like, you know, and so it was the one that was, it just kind of got up and pushed it. And it was the one that was locked and closed. And it didn't push real hard. And he goes, then it got back down on all fours and then began to run around the aisles. And he goes, I went and got my car. He goes, I had a nice, you know, Trans Am, whatever. And I got in my car and I'm looking. I'm like, what in the hell am I looking at? You know, and the shout out to Stefan. This is the guy that gave me the story. Speaking of which, text him and let him know we're going to be picking him up, not to take an Uber, because we're not, you know, tell him to wait. Tell him I'm on the live stream. And so his name was Stefan. And he sits there and he's looking. He goes, I'm telling you, man. He's like, I'm looking at this giant, shaggy, wolf-like thing with this. In the way, in his exact words, where it was the head looked deformed, like it was a deformed head. It was like this deformed wolf, like the ears were low, set on its head. It didn't look right at all. He's like, and then I just started thinking, like, what if, you know, and the thought crossed his mind. He goes, what if that's a werewolf? And so, not knowing a whole lot about my show, he asked a very pertinent question. He's like, what do you think about werewolves? I don't know how you feel about that. I said, I think they exist. And he says he was looking and he sees this thing and it was like running around like an animal. He said, but then it started to stare out the window kind of at him, and it almost felt like it was becoming more cognizant as a human, like it was like becoming more human. And so while it was staring at him, it stands up on its hind legs. He's like, and it went straight for that other door and opened it up. And he goes, and when it came out, it was on its hind legs and it was like fully erect, like it was like you would see like a werewolf. And of course you get this reference, and we've heard this 100 times. Like, I asked him, I said, werewolf. Now, you talking about The Howling? You talking about Bad Moon? Never heard of that movie, he said. But I was like, have you, I mean, he said it was gray. I mean, are we talking about like Van Helsing? And he said, maybe like the one from Van Helsing, but more terrifying and weirder looking. The hair was thicker around the head, almost like it had a hump on its back or a mane. Very muscular. And I don't know. I don't know if that thing, you know, he goes, if that was what came out of that closet, I didn't. He's like, at that point, I sped away. He's like, I'll never forget it as long as I live. He goes, it was years ago, you know, he goes, and I was like 19 years old. And he's like, and I saw it. I saw what looked like a freaking werewolf. Now, the question is, was that what was behind that door? Was it a man? Was it becoming a creature of some kind? I mean, that is the question, you know.
Yeah.
SC says, I believe I saw a guy who was a werewolf. Wow, really? No, Brett. We're not going there. L Pepper says gas station hot dogs from Ohio are different flavor. So SC says yes, really. So kind of cutting from the story for a minute there. SC, would you tell us about your story? what you saw. But yeah, it was a very tripped out thing, you know. And he said, I don't know if it was what was in the closet. I don't know if there was a guy in there or a dog in there, or if that was that creature, because the creature that he saw running around through the shelves, he said that thing did not look like it would be that it could fit in. Like, he didn't see what was inside the closet, obviously, but he saw the door, and he said that thing didn't look like it would be able to fit in that door.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, he's like, it just didn't look like it would fit. I don't know. Maybe, you know, but maybe
Maybe
know,
it was turning into it, or I don't
yeah,
know.
I mean, looks can be deceiving though too. You don't know. I mean, you know, it's hard to judge. You know, size of a door and if somebody could fit through it or not, and what could fit through it. I don't know. But give me your thoughts on that. It says yes, but it's just my opinion. I have zero proof. Not sure it would make for a good story to tell here. So the description of the creature, it was gray. He said that it was large, you know, and it had like almost like a mane, you know, and the eyes were just, he didn't see any weird coloration of the eyes. It wasn't glowing yellow, orange, blue, red, green. You know, I mean, it just looked like a werewolf. I mean, it was on its hind legs. I said, how tall do you think it was? He said probably about 6.5 feet. It wasn't, he don't think it was 7 foot.
Yeah.
And it wasn't some monstrous creature, but it was big. You know, and he said he tells people and they don't believe him. He's like, I've told everybody in my family, they think I'm crazy when I tell them that story. He's like, I'm a very normal, rational person. And people, I have a job like everybody else. He's an electrician. He's like, when I tell people that story, they think I'm out of my mind. But, see, that's the question, Cutler. Does one get bigger when turning into a werewolf? I don't know. I don't know. I saw a couple comments earlier. So L Pepper says, I'm in Columbus. I have a story about a couple of them out of Columbus too. Not just werewolf stories, but weird stuff. I'm in Columbus. Can confirm Ohio is creepy as F driving at night in the country. Yeah. I've been through there, you know. Lake Erie did catch fire. Yeah, I did, Imp. So here's the thing. When Bettina was doing her, and if you guys buy the conference or whatever, and I understand if you don't, because I had originally said what we thought we were going to be able to sell for. That didn't work out. But I'm stupid because I didn't know how this all worked. Okay, but if you don't buy it, I'm not going to be offended. I get it. I understand if you don't want to watch it, whatever. But if you do buy it, you'll see Bettina's her story or whatever, and she talks about these creatures. And one of the things that I think that people, they don't understand is that they have this chart, which is, and I don't know I don't want to be offensive to people, but it's full of crap. Okay, it's like called the 7 types of Dogman, and there's like variant 1, 2, 3, all these stupid. It's stupid. I don't even know who made that. I know a particular podcaster or whatever he is, whatever he does, who believes in all that or something, and says he might have made it for all I know. It's just these variants, dude, and it's like and then when you look at the pictures, they look so goofy. It looks like some high school kid drew it for an art project. I mean, you know, there's so many great artists out there, and you're like, why? I don't know. They went and they picked, like, I don't know who drew it, you know, and if I'm offending them, I just want to tell you that, you know, I'm only serious. I don't really care. Doing a lot better job. Bunch of people. But I think it's goofy. I think it's silly. I think it's stupid. I think it's a stupid chart. There's more than that. There's so many different types. You know, you could say, hey, this is something. But, you know, there's no way to say like exactly what. And if somebody was able to change in one of these things, like hypothetically, you wouldn't look like if we changed, we wouldn't look the same.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, just because we're from the same type of werewolf that if
Being
we
or
turn
whatever,
into
yeah.
it, no, I mean, it's obviously a lot of boohickey, I think. I mean, it doesn't really make a lot of sense in general because you don't have any way to really diagnose the differences between these dogmen besides what they look like. And that could be entirely just based on environmental or just from wherever they come from. I mean, if they do come from inner Earth or if they come from different dimensions or if they're somehow aliens, how would you know which type they are based on what just on their looks? I think that's a little easy to.
Yeah. I mean, and then some of the pictures too, they took some serious liberties with the color. Like they had like this white mane around one of them that just looks so stupid. It just looks goofy. And you're like, that's supposedly like the Gugwe type or something. And I'm like, that doesn't look like anything that anybody's ever described to us ever. Like nobody's ever said, yeah, it had like a white beard all the way around it, man. Shut up. Okay. Just, don't make me sing. All right. Shut the hole under your nose. Shut the hole under your nose. Just shut up. Okay. I don't want to hear it. You get that to that point where you're just kind of like, I just don't. Don't assume their identity, Mushu. You need to stop with that, okay, Mushu? Don't assume their what are you going to do? Assume their pronouns now?
Oh, no.
I had this one person, I will say, I did have one person. She was talking about the Dogman, and this one was the one from Arizona. You remember? And she was like, she kept referring to them as he's and she's.
Yeah.
And she was like, she was the alpha. And I'm like, and then she tried to tell me that wolves always have a female alpha. And I'm like, I didn't argue. I was just like, okay, I could tell she was the boss, and she would bite at the other ones. And I was like, how did you know? And I just,
I don't know.
the story changed so many times that I was like falling asleep, and I was like, look, I got to go. This isn't, whatever. Thank you. That's nice, but whatever. And then I got attacked because I didn't tell that story on here. And I'm like, well, there's a reason why I didn't tell the story on here. I didn't believe it. And I try to not do that to people, but when you start saying stuff like that, and then there was this one guy that was giving me this supposedly he found the origins of the vampires, and it just sounded like some fiction that he had drawn up, and I was like, oh, okay. And he's like, this all came to me, and this Dogman gave this to me and through mind speak. And I'm like, yeah, maybe it happened. I'll take my chances and say,
he gave me the sword of Rapala. Okay, guy.
We're depriving the world of this amazing information. I'll take my chances on it, werewolf identity politics. Exactly. But tell me what you think in the comments, folks, about this story. I mean, do you think that was a werewolf? Was it a Dogman that got in there? I asked him, I said, did you see anything in the news? Anything, that was there anybody that got attacked?
Mm-hmm.
So that our friend could run up there and immediately say that it was a Spitz that did. He's like, this man was not killed by a Dogman. And like he's over there like reading it off his hand, what his handlers told him to say.
Today at 5, 15 Boston Terriers went wild.
Those packs of Boston Terriers, man. The only thing worse is the French Bulldog. Let me tell you something, man. No, I mean, and now the guy asked me the $1 million question. He said, have you ever heard of anything like this? And I was like, no. I've heard a lot. Up to that point, I had never heard of anything like that. Now, I did have a guy who claimed that he went to a convenience store in Mexico, and that he was right outside of Guadalajara, not Guadalajara. Oh God, what was it at? What was that guy? What we were talking about the different places in Mexico, and was it Galindo? No, it wasn't Galindo. Starts with a G.
Oh yeah, I remember we had a hard time finding that like the name of that place.
Anyway, the guy claims that he went to a gas station and this guy was showing people. Now, I'm not joking. He told us this. He said that they were $5 American dollars, and you could go to the back, and he had this thing in chains, and it looked horrible. It was like emaciated, and it was laying there, and it was chained up. and it would sit up and it would run at you and try to attack you. And he said it looked just like a freaking werewolf. Like it was chained up. I mean, he gave me a description of it and everything, and it was just like it was gray, like it looked old, and it looked all decrepit, and its legs looked all messed up and stuff. And the guy had it chained up. But by the same token, I got a story from down in Yucatan. That there was this woman who had gone into a market, and there was this really tall, throwback Neanderthal looking man that was covered in hair, not fur, hair. And he was like almost 8 foot tall. And it was carrying cases of soda and beer. It was going to the back and grabbing them and bringing them and laying them down. That was, what's her name? Marie's friend. My mom used to rent a room from her.
Yeah.
Yeah. She told us this crazy story. And I'm sitting there going like, I think it was her. Anyway, I just remember hearing that. And I was like, I didn't know what to think. That was years ago. At that time I wasn't like writing everything down that I heard and whatever, but it always stuck with me. But how many of these things could be going on? Like this could be happening all over the world, and we just don't know it. We checked today on the books, right? And we actually sold quite a few books in Europe. Kind of surprised. Even in France, we sold books in France. I mean, it was crazy.
We did quite well internationally.
We did.
Yeah.
But, we don't see a dime of it till the end of October. Folks, we're broke. I'm not going to lie, man. Please. Please. I'm joking. I'm kidding. No, it was weird, man. It's you get some weird stories. And then we got stories about the cartel who are going, oh, Liberty. I was joking, but thank you for that donation. We really appreciate that. Never had a better time. Me neither. It was great. It actually might have beaten last year's. But I was thinking about it, and I thought, this stuff that's in Mexico that's going on. I've gotten so many stories, and Armando was better speaking Spanish than me. I can communicate, but he's a lot better. And he was really making inroads into Mexico and getting some, doing some good work. And now we have a couple of sources now that are helping us get stories out of Mexico. Actually, about 3 or 4, and we really appreciate it because Mexico is loaded. And I'm not joking. When I say loaded, I'm talking for real. Just full of stories about these creatures. I mean, it's all over the place down there. And more about the guy. What is that? Need to hear the cartel story sometime? The guy that was doing robberies and body parts. He's talking about 8 Ball. There was his nickname was 8 Ball. I think that's what you're talking about, Anunnaki, bro. And then something attacked him in one of this, and he was with this other guy. They were cat burglars. Is that what you're talking about? That really happened. That's a crazy story, One of the things that Garitano and me talked about and what he wanted to do was interview me and actually do sort of a piece about, not just the paranormal, but my life in general, and just start from beginning to end and just go through the whole thing, And I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that. He said he thinks it's a good idea. It'd be cool. He's the guy who's got the, a lot of the know-how. But I don't want to do something that makes my fans look at me different, And everybody who went to the conference, I will say this, and I hope you guys can back me up on this. I'm who I am at the conference. I'm who I am here on the show. I'm who I am at home. I don't, you guys met me. Am I what you thought I would be? I mean, it says, I don't concern myself with proper spelling on the internet. Only Mexico and Canada are under my belt as far as out of America. It was a Wayne's World 2 reference. I mean, for you guys that went to the conference, let's see, Madeline says, you keep it real. I do. There's no BS in me. I look people dead in their eye. I tell you exactly what's going on. If I believe you, I believe. If I don't, I don't.
Yeah, I would have a hard time legitimately respecting your leadership if I felt like you were a different person.
Like a persona.
Yeah, like if you were a different person to different people and just kind of being who you thought they wanted you to be so you could get something out of them.
Thank you for that, Samantha. Thank you for that. Yep. Cutler. You guys met me. I mean, you know. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I just wanted to know if it's, you know, if that's the truth. I mean, or am I up here BSing? You know, I'm telling you that who I am, it's who I am. I don't fake myself for nobody. For any, that sounds stupid. For anybody. And I don't think people would respect me if I was like, you know, some persona, you know, pretending that I'm a guy, I'm a nice guy, or whatever, and then I'm somebody else. That's what other people do. But anyway, folks, we're about to shut it down. But well, we got about 20. I don't know. What do you want to do? Finish the 3 hours or go?
Yeah, I mean, we got time because
Yeah.
we actually don't have to pick up Stefan. He was already on his way home when I texted him.
Okay. How was that? Did
Already?
it just already?
It was 10:03.
It was like he was already in an Uber. What, did he leave early?
I asked him specifically. He said no. The Uber just picked me up like 2 minutes ago.
Funny that he was
so,
working at a Mexican bodega.
Yeah.
Kind of a bad area where he's at, so I don't envy him. But it's funny how we were talking about Stefan's story at the same, and then it made me think of Stefan. So, yeah, and Matt, you're right. You know, never blowing smoke up people's butts. Wolf is the same way. Yeah, we ate dinner together. We hung out. We all had a good time, and it's interesting, Matt, that Matt's part Lebanese, and I've spent a lot of time with the Lebanese people. And some of the stories that are going to be coming out about the Levant are going to be interesting, about Baalbek and Al Madam, and just different places. You know, you have all these different places where people have seen and heard things. They have stories of the Ayub, and I don't want to butcher this word, so I'm going to see if I can say it correctly. Because it would just be a shame if I totally got it wrong. Let me look it up real quick, folks, and I'll give you what it's supposed to be called. Because obviously Arabic is not my first language. Petra and Almadam and Baalbek, but the creature is called the Salua, but it's like Salua. That is a type of werewolf that is typically a female, and it is an Arabic term. It says here, you're definitely as genuine as they come, Wolf. Appreciate the authenticity. Just got my Dogman book and loving it so far. And I had somebody that said that I needed to not start my he's a new listener, and said maybe don't start off doing a sales pitch for your swag bags and all this. Dude, what do you want me to do? You know, wait until the middle of it or the end or whatever. You got to get the preliminaries out of the way and go on and get started, you know, and I can't be worrying about doing all that crap and remembering it at the end. But thanks for your advice, Dustin.
And the demon was about to grab her butt. Intermission.
No, you know, I don't want to be something that I'm not. I don't try to pretend to be something that I'm not. It's not me. It's not who I am. It's not what I am. But what I do try to do is give you, you know, and I do, you know, somebody says I always go for the sensational stories or whatever. Well, doesn't it make for better entertainment? Because at the end of the day, this is entertainment. It's not all like, we're not trying to sit up here and, you know, not every story is going to scare the crap out of you. And there's some stories that are going to touch your heart and some stories that are going to keep you on the edge of your seat. And then some stories that may not be your cup of tea. You know, that's just how it goes. Cutler says, can I say this? Wolf went out of his way to make time for people. He was super busy, but he went out of his way to talk to people. I did. And in my last conference, I was criticized that I was so busy. First time I'd ever done it, and had been to conferences. I'd never done my own. So I wanted to make sure that everybody was happy, you know, but I was also very busy running back and forth. And so, this time I made sure that nobody was upset or they got their feelings hurt. Now I'm going to tell you some weird stuff. Mike Turner says, "You're one of the best people I've ever met in my life. Your wife, Nellie, is also awesome. Anthony Musher, also great people as well." The conference was really weird in the way that we had a lot of people who fell out and then other people who had to step up and take their place. And then we had some really weird stories coming from people who nearly didn't make it. We had, 3 people they missed their flight, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And we had one guy whose tire came flying off. Eventually, he made it on Sunday. We had another person whose car began to overheat, and they had to go get another vehicle. And then it was another one, and it was like it was like forces of evil. Like something was like lined against us, trying to stop us from having this conference. I mean, I'm not joking. And I got enemies. Believe me, I got enemies. And when you're doing something like this, you're trying to unite people, everybody. They build alliances against you because you're destroying their, little fiefdom or whatever they think is their little piece of, bacterial soil. I think that, El Pepper, people have said that about Mercury. But this stuff was going on before Mercury. I mean, this was going on. Like it was going rough. Things were going rough. We were having some issues. Joe Breezy said I had a ton of reasons trying to stop me, but they didn't. That's right. They didn't. What was that, like the guy with the DER shirt? Who was that? It says, "Wolf, you did a great job." Andrew Valdez is keeping the conference going. Hope Nelly enjoyed the beef jerky. Dude, we ended up losing that. I don't know what happened. I couldn't find it in my bag. I don't remember what happened to it. George Mink says, "Can honestly I find it refreshing when I find someone who can actually be themselves, much less behave and be aware of themselves. I think we all salute you." I appreciate that.
It was a cool little area too. It was pretty funny. The way that it was it was a post office right there.
You want to put him on the camera?
And right next to it was a farmer's market. And then it was a conference center. And then right all behind that was the water park.
Yeah, the water park was like just kind of right there. Funny because like one of the kids there at the water, I say kid, he was a young guy, had a weird story to tell. I got a couple weird stories about water parks, and I'll tell you one. The other one involved these weird-looking creatures, and I'm going to tell that story probably on Friday. I don't know who. In fact, Friday is going to be. We didn't have a guest for Friday yet. I haven't even thought about it. Like, who's going to be the guest?
Maybe we could do it for Sunday.
Yeah, maybe Sunday. But what is today? Wednesday?
Yeah.
We don't have a guest for Friday? Wow. What the heck happened?
We're a little too relaxed, huh?
For Friday.
Yeah, we could. I mean, but I'd rather record with her because she's got like 3 hours of stuff.
Yeah, because she said she's had like a lifetime of
Yeah, so she's an experiencer. So let's see, folks. Who do you guys want for a guest?
Taylor says, "Weird, I almost got into an accident coming into Fort Worth."
Yeah, a bunch of people were saying that. Let me see here. Let me see here.
Later, Barton. It's always cool to see you.
Yeah, Barton's checking out. Okay. Trying to see if there's somebody that I needed to get on here. Because I don't have anybody for Friday. It just hit me like boom, you know. But anyways, folks, we're gonna have to get some people, get them together, and figure out who's gonna be on. If not, then we'll just go through our archives and tell stories, or we'll get somebody to come on and tell a story. I don't know. We'll see what happens.
We'll figure it out. We always do.
We'll figure it out between now and then. I don't have a hard time getting guests. It's not hard at all. Typically, anyway. I mean, if they have any sense, you know, it sounded crappy, but I'm saying, you know, I don't. It's not like I have to beg somebody to come on my show. Please come on my show.
That's what happens when you have great friends in the community.
Yeah, we got good friends, you know. All right, so let's see. What do we got here? Read some comments before we go. Do a potluck of stories. Heidi says, I haven't given you my stories yet. Contact me. You got the email address right there. Or you can hit me up on Facebook Messenger, which is even easier. James Lewis, Tony's been on the show. And I've been on his show. I mean, we've worked together. You know, I've been on his show like twice. But so everybody, all right. Thanks, folks. Thanks for tuning in. Hellbent Holler couple would be cool to hear too. Yeah, you know, we haven't had them on, have we?
No, we haven't.
No, actually,
I don't think so.
Well, I asked Brandy Butcher to come on. If she can do it, then if not, then we'll try to get Joe and Jesse, whatever. Folks, pray for Joe and Jesse. Pray for me, Vault, DW, and there's a guy that's threatening us. Okay, he's been doing it for a while. He's probably watching right now. He's a little weird stalker guy, and if you're watching, you know what? F you, dude. But anyway, you know, pray for these people and pray for this guy. Maybe that God will touch his heart. I'm sorry I shouldn't have said that because I'm just so sick of it. But you know, he's saying all kinds of crazy stuff, making threats and talking trash and just nuts, man. Just saying crazy stuff. And yeah, you know, just whatever. So if you could just say a prayer for everybody, because that he'll stop and maybe God will touch his heart and he'll quit and go away and leave people alone. So he said some very horrible things, nasty, mean things about Jesse. So probably be Brandy Butcher, but I don't know. We might. If she can't do it, I got somebody else too. I just got somebody else. So there you go. That's simple. Done.
See, always works out.
So, folks, we'll be back on Friday with a guest. If not, we'll get them on by Sunday, and we'll tell stories either Friday or Sunday. Thank you for the people that donated. I know it's the first of the month, man, and y'all haven't gotten your government checks yet. You got to be. I'm joking. Is it the first of the month? No. What is this? The 6th?
No, it's like the 6th.
Golly, it's like we were gone forever. Like, once you get them government checks, man, all right, you know what I mean? It'll happen. Joe Breezy, you're right. Trust me. He says only God can change us, Christ himself. Trust me, I wouldn't be who I am now if it wasn't true. If this says if the guy can't back up his talk, then he should shut up. Exactly. But we don't want him to push him because
we don't want him.
Vault
to back
said
up
he
his
truly
talk.
believes this guy is capable of this. Pray for Vault. He's been having some heart problems. You know, he's been having some health issues, dude, and he couldn't make it to the conference. He couldn't travel because of his heart.
It's Polito.
Where?
Hey, it's Polito.
Yeah, you shows up at the end. Hey, I'm here. It's over. Well, good night, and I'm going to hurry up and check out just because you came on. Bye, mijo. I'll see you.